Phoenix Nights. Chapter 30:14. Gu Fei's heavenly tribulation was bound to startle everyone, because the quasi-supreme heavenly tribulation was really too big. Even the tribulation clouds in the sky almost covered the void within a radius of 10,000 miles. Almost half of the heavenly realm could sense the mighty aura that spread out from the tribulation clouds. In fact, for those sage-level creatures, they could sense the changes in the heavenly Tao laws of the heavenly realm, no matter where they were, as long as they wanted to. This was the advantage of sage-level creatures. They could comprehend the heavenly Tao laws and cultivate. To a certain extent, sage-level creatures were already different from ordinary creatures. This was because creatures below the sage level could not sense the changes in the heavenly Tao laws. Rumble. The heavenly tribulation continued. Gu Fei and the Black Flood Dragon fought fiercely. His whole body was covered with a vast and mighty chaotic aura. He looked like a supreme expert that walked out from the depths of chaos. Every punch he threw shook the surrounding void and shattered the endless tribulation lightning that bombarded him. Boom! Bang! Heavy crashing sounds continuously rang out. Two figures moved extremely quickly under the tribulation clouds. This fourth Black Flood Dragon was much more powerful than the previous three creatures. Swoosh! The dragon's claws slashed across. On Gu Fei's body that was as strong as a quasi-supreme Tao artifact, a bloody wound immediately appeared. His muscles flipped and blood seeped out from the wound. Bang! At the same time, Gu Fei's right fist also landed on one of the Black Flood Dragon's ancestral dragon horns. Crack! The ancestral dragon horn broke in an instant and flew out. Roar! The Black Flood Dragon seemed to have gone mad. Its ancestral dragon horn was broken by a puny human. To it, this was definitely a great humiliation. Although this Black Flood Dragon was formed from the heavenly Tao's seal of the heavenly Tao, it originated from a flood dragon that had already passed the quasi-supreme heavenly tribulation. This Black Flood Dragon had an instinctive reaction. It was extremely angry. What it wanted to do was to crush and destroy this human in front of it. Rumble! A powerful flood dragon's power exploded from the Black Flood Dragon's body. Gu Fei was immediately blown away. He kept coughing up blood, but the blood he coughed up would instantly turn into a blood mist and be absorbed back into his body by his martial body. At Gu Fei's level of cultivation, the blood essence in his body would not be lost. Furthermore, after the martial body was injured, it would be healed immediately. His martial body had already reached an almost indestructible level. Of course, in order to achieve true immortality, one had to become an extreme supreme master. Among the warriors, there were only two people who could become an extreme supreme master. One was the martial ancestor, and the other was the sword ancestor. They were the ones who created the 9 heaven punishment swords and became a supreme master by killing. One had to know that the sword was also a form of martial arts. The sword ancestor who created the 9 heaven punishing swords walked the path of the martial way of the sword. Of course, there were also sword cultivators in the immortal way. That was the sword of the immortal way, which was fundamentally different from the sword of the martial way. Are you angry now? Ha ha! Gu Fei laughed crazily and then rushed toward the Black Flood Dragon. He punched out with the chaotic fists, and the two fists bloomed with dazzling chaotic light. It was as if two chaotic stars were colliding with the Black Flood Dragon. The terrifying power fluctuations caused the entire world to shake violently. This was a huge collision. Two extremely powerful forces exploded. The void between heaven and earth was annihilated. Even the great path of heaven and earth was shattered. Gu Fei and the Black Flood Dragon were both blown away. The two great experts were evenly matched. They fought with all their might. In the distant sky, the old tortoise and the other experts who saw this scene were inexplicably shocked. Even the old tortoise, who knew about Gu Fei's background, felt that Gu Fei was too fierce. Your Royal Highness, this friend of yours is like an ancient heavenly beast. The old Taoist who was holding the fortune-telling banner said while stroking his white beard. The combat strength displayed by Gu Fei moved him. Deep in his turbid eyes, there was a flash of light. He seems to be a descendant of the martial ancestor. No wonder he's so brave! The stone coffin was faintly discernible in the endless death aura. It was as if there were countless demons and ghosts roaring around it. It was a soul-stirring scene. You've indeed walked a different path. The old Taoist looked at the stone coffin and said with a solemn expression. The guy in the stone coffin was incredible. He might have really died once, but he was reborn from death and became an undead creature. You're not bad yourself. You've actually lived until now. The stone coffin emitted such a fluctuation of will. At this time, a ferocious beast shadow loomed in the distant sky. The powerful breath of a quasi-supreme was mighty. The ferocious beast shadow did not come over. It seemed that the old tortoise's Tai Huang seal was very wary and did not dare to approach. In addition to the three quasi-supreme, the old tortoise knew that there should be many quasi-supreme in the dark. However, he was not afraid. With the Tai Huang seal in hand, who would dare to cause trouble? Of course, nothing was absolute. He did not dare to let his guard down. That guy is actually transcending the tribulation? Mortal Realm, West Earth's Buddhist sect, on the peak of Mount Spirited. On top of a huge rock, a bald monk wearing a dirty kasaya suddenly opened his eyes. At the same time, a very handsome little monk wearing a white monk robe with white teeth and red lips walked up from the foot of the mountain with an alms bowl in his hand. The little monk was none other than Fan Shio. Although he looked harmless, no one would have thought that he would be able to match up to Old Tortoise in terms of underhanded tricks and brickmaking. Even the Hei Tian would feel inferior in front of this little monk. Arhat Fan Shio? The bald monk sitting cross-legged on the boulder opened his eyes. Suddenly, 2 bolts of lightning flashed in the air. The old monk's gaze fell on the little monk holding the alms bowl. Great Baldy Heavenly Dharma, when will you lend me your kasaya? Little monk Fan Shio looked at the dirty kasaya on the bald monk's body and asked. Haha, when I become a Supreme Buddha, I'll lend it to you. How about it? Heavenly Dharma laughed and stood up from the rock. When you become a Supreme Buddha? How long will that take? Little monk Fan Shio said helplessly. As long as the kasaya was worn by Heavenly Dharma, he would not be able to do anything to him. That was not an ordinary kasaya, it was a kasaya worn by a Buddhist lord for thousands of years. Heavenly monk Dharma had been in possession of the kasaya for a very long time. He had been comprehending the Buddha nature of the kasaya and had benefited a lot from it. His cultivation had been advancing rapidly, and he was only one step away from becoming a quasi-supreme Buddha. Without the kasaya, little monk Fan Shio might have been able to fight against Heavenly Dharma, but with the kasaya, he was already in an invincible position. I believe you have already sensed that the little guy is transcending the tribulation. Shouldn't we do something? Heavenly Dharma said. Yes, let's go to the heavenly realm. Little monk Fan Shio smiled. Then, little monk Fan Shio and Heavenly Dharma disappeared from the peak of the spiritual mountain. Gu Fei had many enemies. When his enemies found out that he was transcending the tribulation, they would not miss this opportunity. Someone would intercept him while he was transcending the tribulation. That little guy is transcending the tribulation? In the Dongfang family's ancestral land, a thought was transmitted from the Chaos Cavern. The 2 figures sitting cross-legged outside the Chaos Cavern opened their eyes, and a few bolts of lightning flashed in the void. Is the old ancestor coming out of seclusion? The 2 old men stood up abruptly and turned to look at the Chaos Cavern. We can't miss it. Let's go and take a look. A figure rushed out of the Chaos Cavern and soared into the sky, heading towards the path to heaven in the Sky Market. The news that the Eastern Sky Tyrant King had left the ancestral land of the Dongfang family spread quickly. It should be known that the appearance of any big shot at this time would shock everyone. Soon, someone saw a peerless figure of the Zhao family of the primordial ancients walking out of the ancestral land of the Zhao family, and disappearing into the void. The 2 emperor clans of the Buzhou ancestral planet also received the news. The Xian clan and the Gold clan both sent peerless experts out of seclusion and headed straight for the heavenly realm. Apart from those who had already set foot on the human race's ancient road 9 years ago, all the experts in the human realm who received the news were also heading for the heavenly realm. The news of Gu Fei transcending the tribulation spread quickly. Master is finally transcending the tribulation. In the Wanxiang city, the Iron Blood Taoist was extremely excited when he received the news. If Gu Fei succeeded, he would become a quasi-sovereign, and the strongest one at that. Gu Fei's transcending the tribulation had shaken everyone. All the ancient clans sent peerless experts to the heavenly realm to find out what was going on. The commotion in the quasi-sovereign celestial realm was too great. Once those peerless experts arrived in the heavenly realm, they would be able to sense the heaven and earth and immediately know the location of Gu Fei's tribulation. An uninhabited area in the heavenly realm immediately became lively. However, after sensing the aura of the Grand Sovereign Seal, the experts stopped in the distance. With the old turtle protecting Gu Fei, even those who wanted to harm Gu Fei would have to think twice before doing so. One had to know that the old turtle wasn't easy to bully. The fame of the new demon lord of the heavenly realm was earned through battles. Back then, when the old turtle returned to the heavenly realm, he led a group of subordinates to fight all over the place, and made a name for himself in the heavenly realm. Even the Eastern Sky Tyrant King and other peerless characters didn't want to offend the old turtle. One had to know that once the old turtle went crazy, it wouldn't be a joke. Preposterous, where is that old turtle guarding? How are we going to make a move? Someone was very apprehensive after seeing this scene. The aura of the Grand Sovereign Seal was too vast, as if there was a supreme demon lord looking down on the common people. Before this kind of power, even a quasi-supreme would be as weak as an ant, unable to contend against it. I heard that Gu Fei has a good relationship with the Jiang clan's mortal emperor. If he also invited mortal Emperor Jiang to protect him, then no one would be able to disturb his tribulation. Chapter 30:15. Gu Fei's tribulation had shaken everyone. Even many old antiques who had been in seclusion for a long time were alarmed. Many of them directly jumped out of their seclusion. Even the Eastern Sky Tyrant Queen, who had been cultivating in the Dongfang family's ancestral land, came out. She wasn't there to cause trouble, but to observe. The Eastern Sky Tyrant Queen's cultivation had long reached the point where she was about to take that step, but she had been unable to take it. She always felt that she was still lacking something. When the Eastern Sky Tyrant Queen appeared in the heaven realm, it caused quite a stir. It should be known that her bronze mask had once shaken the entire human world of cultivation. Many people of her generation naturally knew how powerful she was. The Eastern Sky Tyrant Queen was very mysterious. No one had seen her true appearance, but from her figure, it could be seen that this bronze-masked peerless expert was a woman. A woman was actually called the Eastern Sky Tyrant Queen. This was already an unbelievable matter. It seemed that since ancient times, she was the only woman to be called Tyrant Queen. In fact, in the 9 layers of Buddha heaven created by the ancient Buddha Master, there was also an overlord who broke out of the 9 layers of Buddha heaven, but then disappeared without a trace. The experts who broke out of the 9 layers of Buddha heaven and were still active in the world of cultivation seemed to be the 2 great protectors of West Earth's Buddhism. This Gu Fei is quite amazing. He actually reached this step at such a young age. Someone exclaimed. When the people of the same generation as Gu Fei saw the scene in the distant sky, they felt as if a lifetime had passed. People of the same generation had already left them far behind. Gu Fei's cultivation speed definitely made people of the same generation feel despair, especially those who had previously surpassed him. Now they were left far behind. Rumble! The terrifying heavenly tribulation was still being unleashed. The aura of destruction spread out, and the entire world seemed like it was about to be obliterated. Destructive lightning constantly bombarded down from the tribulation clouds in the sky, and each lightning bolt was bigger than a mountain. Even a saint would be instantly obliterated if he was struck by such a bolt of lightning, and he wouldn't even be able to become a ghost. However, when this kind of lightning struck Gu Fei's body, it was simply like scratching an itch. It was difficult to injure him in the slightest, and he even guided and used it to temper his martial body. Since ancient times, Gu Fei was probably the only person who could be struck by lightning and still feel extremely comfortable. Amidst the endless thunder and lightning, Gu Fei's figure could be vaguely seen. He was moving at high speed, fighting a black flood dragon condensed from the power of thunder and lightning. As he fought with the black flood dragon, he devoured the surrounding spiritual energy to strengthen himself. He's actually devouring the power of the heavenly tribulation. Soon, a group of experts who were watching Gu Fei's tribulation from afar saw Gu Fei's strange behavior. This Gu Fei was really audacious. He actually dared to devour the power of tribulation that others couldn't even dodge in time. One had to know that the power of the heavenly tribulation could directly destroy him if he was not careful. Devouring the power of the heavenly tribulation was definitely an extremely dangerous action. Even if the person undergoing the tribulation thought that he could completely pass the tribulation, he wouldn't be so crazy. At this time, the old tortoise no longer paid attention to the old Taoist and the powerful existence in the stone coffin. He directly sat in the void with his legs crossed. Above his head, the Tai Huang seal floated in the extreme light of the Great Path, releasing an extremely strong aura. So many experts had come to this uninhabited area of the heaven realm, but he dared not let his guard down. He was very clear that there would definitely be people who would fish in troubled waters and attack Gu Fei. The Eastern Sky Tyrant is here, the peerless deity from the Zhao clan of the ancients is also here. It seems that little thieving baldy Fan Xiao is also here. The old tortoise muttered to himself. He could directly sense the aura of every expert present. This was the power of the flawless Tai Huang seal. The flawless Tai Huang seal was equivalent to the reincarnation of an invincible life form. Whoever wanted to attack Gu Fei, the old tortoise would use the Tai Huang seal to kill that person. Let's play with that little baldy first. With a thought, the old tortoise locked onto a figure tens of thousands of miles away. Then, a clear chi rushed out from the top of his head and transformed into another old tortoise. He took a step forward and instantly disappeared into the void. Oh no! On a mountain peak tens of thousands of miles away, a handsome little monk wearing a white monk robe and holding an alms bowl in his hand suddenly had a change of expression. In an instant, he soared into the sky from the mountain peak and rushed into the distant sky in an attempt to leave this area. However, in the next moment, a figure came across the sky and caught up with him in an instant. "Ha ha, little Baldy, long time no see. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? Come, let's get together first before leaving." The person laughed, and said, "Get together my ass." The little monk Fan Xiao knew that the other party had the upper hand and could use the power of the Tai Huang seal for his own use. It was impossible for him to fight against the other party. However, it was difficult for him to leave now. "Haha, you have to get together if you don't want to." The incarnation of the old tortoise laughed, and directly attacked the little monk Fan Xiao. He stretched out his big hand and the whole world was instantly covered by his big hand. Naturally, the little monk Fan Xiao was also under the big hand. What? The little monk Fan Xiao did not expect the old tortoise to be so powerful. While he was shocked, the purple gold alms bowl in his hand made a buzzing sound and soared into the sky. With a loud sound, the alms bowl soared into the sky and met the large hand that was slapping down from the sky. A heaven-devouring power immediately surged out from the alms bowl, wanting to swallow the large hand into the alms bowl. Humph! The old tortoise's incarnation sneered and the big hand still slapped down. The big hand emitted a wave of the power of the Tai Huang seal and directly disintegrated the devouring power that was surging out from the purple gold alms bowl. What? Little monk Fan Xiao's shock was no small matter. He saw the huge hand fall directly with an unstoppable force. Boom! It actually slapped him down from the sky. Rumble! The earth shook and the big hand that was as huge as a mountain dissipated in the void. The dust on the ground filled the air and a huge handprint appeared on the ground. In the middle of the handprint, the little monk Fan Xiao was lying there in a posture of the Chinese character, face down. Roar! The little monk Fan Xiao raised his head and spat out a mouthful of sand. His face was covered in dust, and he was extremely embarrassed. He immediately stood up from the ground. Sand kept falling from his body. He shook his body, and the sand immediately rustled and fell. At this time, the little monk Fan Shio no longer had that otherworldly temperament that was like the descent of a real Buddha. Big Tortoise, you! The little monk Fan Shio was shocked and angry. If he had a supreme Buddhist weapon in his hand, he would not be in such a sorry state. Unfortunately, he did not have a supreme Buddhist weapon. You what? You're not convinced? Come and hit me, haha. The incarnation of the old tortoise saw the little monk Fan Shio in a sorry state and immediately laughed. Damn it! The little monk Fan Shio stared angrily at the incarnation of the old tortoise in the sky. His body emitted a bright Buddhist light and Buddhist patterns emerged and intertwined on his body. A huge Buddhist shadow emerged from his body and the whole world was immediately shrouded in Buddhist light. There seemed to be Buddhist sounds lingering in the void as if the ancient Buddha Lord was preaching. Golden lotuses appeared on the ground and Buddhist light fell from the sky. A peaceful aura spread between heaven and earth and the murderous aura also became peaceful. This kind of Buddhist aura could make people feel calm and could affect their state of mind. This was absolutely fatal for people in a great battle. Just think about it, if a fighter who was originally filled with fighting spirit suddenly lost it, what would that mean? A fighter who had lost his fighting spirit was destined to be defeated. There was no doubt about it. At this time, the little monk Fan Shio directly rushed out of the big handprint on the ground. He wanted to tear open the void and escape. However, he was shocked to discover that the surrounding void was actually sealed by a force. Even someone as powerful as him couldn't tear open the void here. The little monk Fan Shio was anxious. Don't be in such a hurry to leave. The incarnation of the old tortoise laughed. With the Tai Huang seal, it would be difficult for the little Baldy to escape. If he did not take this opportunity to teach the little Baldy a lesson, he would be letting himself down. You used the power of the Tai Huang seal to fight with me. Bullying the weak is nothing. Even if you can defeat me, it's only because of the Tai Huang seal. Do you dare to fight without the Tai Huang seal? The little monk Fan Shio was still very calm and did not look nervous at all. Even the old tortoise had to admire this guy. Could this guy really be so calm even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him? Haha, do you think I'm that stupid? Don't joke around. The old tortoise was amused. If this guy was not pretending, he must have something to rely on. Haha, then I won't joke around. Instead of fighting with me here, you might as well go protect your brother. Do you think I'll be so careless to let you sense my presence? The little monk Fan Shio looked up at the old tortoise in the sky and suddenly laughed. So there's someone in the dark. It's that big Baldy Dharma. The incarnation of the old tortoise did not show any surprise at all. Boom! At this time, an earth-shattering sound suddenly erupted. A ray of Buddha light appeared between the heavens and the earth. The next moment, the sound of Buddha's voice resounded in the void. It was a Buddha's voice that could purify the soul of all living beings. A golden Buddha figure that was dozens of times larger than a mountain appeared between the heavens and the earth. Golden lotuses appeared on the ground, Buddha's light descended from the sky, and the sound of Buddha's voice lingered. It was as if the ancient Buddha had personally arrived. Big Baldy Dharma, you're really cunning. Chapter 30:16. The Buddhists finally made their move. Those who knew about the grudge between Gu Fei and the Buddhists naturally knew that the Buddhists of West Earth wouldn't let Gu Fei undergo his tribulation so easily. However, no one expected that it would be Heavenly Monk Dharma who directly made his move. In recent years, his fame had shaken the cultivation world. The Buddhists of West Earth had a profound foundation that ordinary people couldn't imagine. Heavenly Monk Dharma's cultivation was about to take that step. Most importantly, he had the Millennium Buddhist robe, a robe worn by the Buddhist Lord. This robe could contend against the saint artifact of the Supreme Great Path. At this time, Heavenly Law Monk finally made his move. He originally wanted to sneak up to Gu Fei without anyone noticing and give him a fatal blow while he was in the midst of transcending his tribulation. However, the old turtle wasn't someone to be trifled with. It was absolutely impossible for Heavenly Monk Dharma to attack Gu Fei right under his nose. Rumble! Two incomparably huge figures faced each other in the sky. Two supreme forces spread out, causing even quasi-supremes to change their expressions. This was a different kind of contest. The power of the Supreme Sovereign and the Millennium Buddhist robe collided. These two forces shouldn't have appeared in the world, but they did. All the powerful beings in the uninhabited area of the heavenly realm had no choice but to retreat far away because these two forces were too powerful and terrifying. Even the sage-level beings were as weak as ants in the face of these two forces. The extreme Tao aura spread out, and the sage-level beings immediately vomited blood as they were sent flying. Only quasi-supremes were barely able to withstand it. I didn't expect the Buddhists of the mortal realm to have such a character. The old Taoist held his fortune-telling banner, and couldn't help but be moved by this scene. He had lived for a long time and naturally knew many secrets of the world. Existences that could reach the Supreme Great Path were not simple. The Buddhist Lord passed down the Buddhist inheritance, the Supreme Tao Ancestor passed down the immortal Tao, and even the martial ancestor left behind his inheritance. The Supreme Sovereign even had descendants in the world, but no one knew what kind of trump cards these supreme characters left behind. Making a fuss over nothing. Far away in the sky, a stone coffin was floating in the endless death chi. The stone coffin emitted this kind of spiritual fluctuation. The living being in the stone coffin had an extremely terrifying cultivation base. It had walked very far on the path of undying. It could be said that this living being was comparable to a ghost emperor. Ghost Emperor Fengdu was definitely one of the most powerful existences in the human realm. Perhaps, even he didn't know that there were other people on the same path as him. There were also people who walked the path of immortality that led to the path of supremacy. Meanwhile, Gu Fei was still undergoing the tribulation. However, he was no longer the focus of everyone's attention. Roar! Under the tribulation cloud, Gu Fei displayed his strongest battle prowess and killed the Black Flood Dragon. Then, he directly soared into the sky and rushed into the tribulation cloud. When the battle broke out, all the remaining creatures condensed from the power of thunder and lightning attacked Gu Fei. An extremely terrifying wave of power spread out from the tribulation clouds. This little guy is quite interesting. Someone noticed Gu Fei's action and couldn't help but be moved. Gu Fei actually dared to directly rush into the tribulation cloud. This truly surprised many people. The martial ancestor finally has a successor. Someone sighed. Gu Fei was staking everything on one throw. He took the initiative to attack and disperse the tribulation cloud, using this kind of domineering attitude to overcome the quasi-supreme heavenly tribulation. However, while his idea was not bad, things often exceeded his expectations. All the remaining creatures formed from the power of lightning in the tribulation clouds were extremely powerful. After this battle, Gu Fei's supreme martial body was torn apart several times. Both his martial body and soul suffered unimaginable damage. If it was an ordinary person, they would have died countless times already. Gu Fei endured it. Of course, he cultivated the Heaven's Emergence secret art, one of the 9 secrets of the immortal path. Even if his soul was destroyed, he could still reform it and be reborn. It was as if he had an immortal body. Although the power of the heavenly tribulation was terrifying, it was unable to destroy his soul. In just half an hour, Gu Fei slaughtered all the remaining creatures condensed from the power of thunder and lightning and sent them back to the heavenly Tao. However, just when Gu Fei thought he could disperse the tribulation cloud, an even more powerful force of the heavenly tribulation descended from the depths of the sky while he was on the brink of death and channeling the Heaven's Emergence secret art to heal his wounds. This was a force that could make all living beings tremble in fear and despair. A monstrous aura of destruction descended, causing all living beings to feel despair. What? Sitting in the tribulation cloud, Gu Fei's heart skipped a beat. The heavenly tribulation was not over yet. However, instead of feeling depressed, he became even more excited. At this moment, a supreme aura descended from the sky. This is... All living beings were shocked. This aura was very similar to the one that erupted from the Grand Sovereign's seal. It was very similar. Then, a supreme figure walked out from the depths of the sky. It was also a figure completely condensed from the power of thunder and lightning. However, this figure was different from the others. Compared to the 9 great creatures, the 9 great creatures were simply too weak. Even the old tortoise, who was holding the Grand Sovereign's seal and confronting Heavenly Monk Dharma, shuddered. An even more powerful wave of divine sense erupted from the Grand Sovereign's seal. The Grand Sovereign's seal had completely awakened. This was something that not even the old tortoise had expected. What? At this time, Great Monk Phaeton turned pale with fright. One had to know that although he was wearing the ancient Buddhist robe, it was not the same as the Buddhist lamp of the 3 realms, the green jade ring blade, or the Sanskrit Buddhist bell. The Millennium Buddhist robe was imbued with the aura of the ancient Buddhist Lord and became an immortal Buddhist robe. However, it was not a Buddhist treasure that the ancient Buddhist Lord purposely crafted. The Millennium Buddhist robe was already a bit of a stretch against the Grand Sovereign's seal. Now, after the Grand Sovereign's seal sensed the Grand Sovereign's aura, the god within the Grand Sovereign's seal was completely awakened. If that was the case, it would be very bad for him. Let's go. While the old tortoise was distracted, Heavenly Monk Dharma activated the power of the Millennium Buddhist robe, broke through the void, and escaped. Humph! When the old tortoise regained his composure, the Grand Sovereign's seal trembled slightly. A large area of the void was instantly annihilated. Even the living beings that were tens of thousands of miles away were affected. All of them vomited blood and retreated. At this moment, the little monk Fan Shio finally used his life-saving technique. He crushed a talisman, and a swastika emerged from the talisman. The swastika wrapped around him, and he escaped into the void. Damn it! The old tortoise's clone was shocked. He didn't expect this little baldy to be so slippery. He took advantage of the moment when he was distracted to escape. Father! It's really Father! At this moment, the old tortoise was extremely excited. He was all too familiar with the silhouette that walked down from the sky. However, he knew very well that it was only a silhouette created by the Grand Sovereign's seal. It wasn't the real Grand Sovereign. I didn't think that this brat, Gu Fei, would have such an opportunity. Many old antiques couldn't help but be moved by this scene. At this moment, Gu Fei was indescribably shocked. The person he was about to face was the Grand Sovereign. Although it wasn't the real Grand Sovereign, it was enough to make him feel helpless. Fight. There was nothing more to say. All he could do was fight. Gu Fei knew that this might be the final test of the quasi-sovereign heavenly tribulation. As long as he defeated the Grand Sovereign, he would become a true quasi-sovereign. At this moment, everyone was nervously staring at the silhouette that walked out from the depths of the sky. Although the silhouette was blurry, it gave off an imposing aura that looked down on the world. This was the most stunning and powerful existence of the demon race since ancient times. The Grand Sovereign was an extreme expert that could shock an entire era. Legends about the Grand Sovereign were still circulating in the world. Rumble! The silhouette directly reached out and slapped down at Gu Fei. In the next moment, Gu Fei fell from the sky like a meteor. Boom! He smashed into the ground. Immediately, the extremely violent impact caused the ground to collapse in all directions with the point of impact as the center. Dust rose high into the sky. Very soon, the area within a radius of 1,000 miles became a pitch-black, bottomless pit. Seeing this scene, all the living beings were shocked. The Grand Sovereign was too powerful. Although it wasn't the real Grand Sovereign, the combat strength he displayed was extremely shocking. Roar! A furious roar came from the pit. The chaotic chi was vast and mighty, and a silhouette rushed out from the depths of the ground. However, a huge hand directly descended from the sky and slammed onto the silhouette. The silhouette was instantly smashed into pieces and exploded in the void. What? Seeing this scene, all the living beings' eyeballs almost fell to the ground. The incomparably powerful Gu Fei was actually smashed into pieces by a huge hand. This scene was too unreal. However, when the living beings thought about who it was, they understood. It was the Grand Sovereign, the most powerful and stunning sovereign of the demon race since ancient times. Even the Sky Demon back then wasn't a match for the Grand Sovereign. The bloodline of the Grand Sovereign and the bloodline of the Sky Demon became mortal enemies at that time. This was a grudge that had been entangled for countless years. It was impossible to resolve because the relationship between the bloodline of the Grand Sovereign and the bloodline of the Sky Demon was too deep. At this moment, the figure of Gu Fei, who was smashed into pieces by the Grand Sovereign's imprint, reappeared in the void. The blood mist quickly gathered and wriggled. Soon, Gu Fei's martial body was reconstructed once again. I knew this brat wouldn't die so easily. After all, he's the successor of the martial ancestor. Seeing this scene, someone couldn't help but sigh. Chapter 30:17. The stronger the opponent, the stronger the opponent. That was Gu Fei. When he faced the Tai Huang's Great Path Seal, he might feel powerless for a brief moment, because his opponent was undefeatable. In Gu Fei's subconscious, he might also think that the Tai Huang was invincible. However, he had an unyielding pride and the pride of a cultivator. He knew that he couldn't win, but he still wanted to fight. No matter who his opponent was, he would fight first. Gu Fei's heart of the Great Path was extremely firm and unshakable. He had already embarked on the path of a strong cultivator, so he must continue on this path. It would not change. Rumble! The sound of wind and thunder came from within Gu Fei's body. He used all his strength, and the sound of his bones cracking could be heard. The power of the martial body was erupting. This was the perfect combination of the Great Path and the Great Path. The martial body was the embodiment of the Great Path, while the martial arts battle techniques were the embodiment of the Great Path. A cultivator had a nearly perfect and powerful body. This was the capital of a cultivator. Haha, he really thinks that he is a martial ancestor. He actually dared to fight against the Tai Huang. Someone laughed. They didn't think that Gu Fei could win. They thought that Gu Fei was no match for the Tai Huang. Even if the Tai Huang was not the real Tai Huang, the result would still be the same. He is overestimating himself, someone said. Many people were pointing at Gu Fei. These people didn't have a good impression of Gu Fei. In the heaven realm, Gu Fei had offended many people. However, these people didn't dare to cause trouble for Gu Fei. Naturally, they didn't want to see Gu Fei successfully pass the tribulation and become a quasi-supreme. All of you, shut up! The old turtle roared at those people. These people were really annoying. They couldn't bear to see others doing well. They were so jealous. No wonder they couldn't take that step. Those who were talking about Gu Fei immediately stopped talking. Even the great monk Heavenly Law, who had the ancient Buddhist robe, was chased away by the old turtle. If the old turtle wanted to kill them, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. Old Tortoise ignored them and looked at the blurry figure standing high in the sky with a complicated expression. The Tai Sovereign's seal above his head vibrated from time to time. The god in the Grand Sovereign's seal emitted a joyful spiritual fluctuation, as though he had met a family member. Both the old turtle and the Tai Huang seal knew that it was just an imprint of the Great Path that originated from the Tai Huang. That figure was not the Tai Huang. Even the Tai Huang's seal was not very clear about what had happened in the past. What exactly happened to the Grand Emperor who was unrivaled in the 9 heavens 10 earths? Was he alive, or was he dead? Even an undying extreme Tao Supreme Being could fall. This in itself was an inconceivable matter. I didn't expect to draw out his great Tao imprint. A white-robed old man appeared in the sky. He looked at the figure in the sky, and a bright light shot out from the depths of his eyes. Even the old ancestor has come. A few experts of the demon race couldn't help but be startled when they saw the white-robed old man. This old ancestor usually guarded the ancestral lands of the demon race, and rarely came out. Who would have thought that Gu Fei's tribulation would startle him? The arrival of this old ancestor made some of the old antiques very uneasy because he was an expert of the same generation as the Tai Huang. The Tai Huang's brother-in-law has also come. The old Taoist holding the fortune-telling banner was a bit surprised to see the white-robed old man. You're actually not dead yet? You survived that great tribulation. The white-robed old man also noticed the old Taoist. He seemed to recognize him. It's good to be alive, But I can't bear to die. The old Taoist sighed. Sometimes you have no choice but to die. The white-robed old man seemed very sentimental. With their cultivation and experience, they had long since become indifferent to life and death. It was precisely because of this that they had been able to go so far on the path of cultivation. Humph, you're all old farts. In the distance, the deathly aura of the sarcophagus emitted a wave of divine will. At this time, Gu Fei encountered the most dangerous tribulation he had ever experienced since he began cultivating. He was fighting against the Tai Huang's great Tao imprint, which was definitely the strongest imprint of the heavenly laws. The blurry figure stood above the heavenly laws and displayed a might that could crush the ages and suffocate even true quasi-supreme beings. Without any suspense, Gu Fei's martial body was once again easily destroyed by the blurry figure, turning into a chaotic mist of blood. However, Gu Fei once again reformed his martial body and appeared in the world. His battle intent was still like a rainbow as he attacked the blurry figure in the sky. Heaven-covering hand! Gu Fei roared and directly slammed his palm towards the figure in the sky. The chaotic force in his body was vast and mighty, and the pores all over his body were gushing with chaotic essence. Rumble! The huge chaotic hand instantly covered the entire world and slammed towards the figure in the sky. However, the figure only waved his hand, and the heaven-covering hand that Gu Fei had unleashed with all his strength had already dissipated in the void. Gu Fei was even blown away, constantly coughing up blood. He had suffered a great impact. It was just a wave of the hand, but the battle strength displayed by the figure was simply unbelievably powerful. Perhaps only Gu Fei could withstand it. Ordinary people would have already lost all hope. Gu Fei had an unyielding battle intent. Although he was constantly blown away by the blurry figure, and even had his martial body destroyed, he still continued to rush back. All the experts who saw this scene were dumbfounded. He was repelled again and again, or his martial body was destroyed, but he rushed back again and again. In the end, even Gu Fei himself had forgotten how many times he had rushed back and how many times his martial body had been destroyed by the figure. However, Gu Fei knew that right now, he was like a piece of divine metal that was constantly being tempered by a craftsman, constantly refining the impurities in his body. The almost invincible figure in the sky was like a craftsman, constantly refining the divine metal that was Gu Fei. Gu Fei's aura was gradually changing, and his Tao was constantly being perfected. Every time his martial body was destroyed by the Tai Huang's imprint, he would have a kind of comprehension from life to death, and then from death to life again. Wandering between life and death to comprehend the Tao, this was the state that Gu Fei was in right now. He was suppressed by the Tai Huang's imprint again and again, unable to fight back, but he was still improving. The edges were worn away, and the sharpness was obliterated. In the end, he returned to his natural state, and his great Tao was perfect. Of course, he was still a distance away from the perfect great Tao. Only extreme supremes could grasp a perfect great Tao. After all, quasi-supremes were not true supremes. He's actually lasted this long. Many of the old-timers were shocked. Gu Fei had actually lasted this long. Although his aura was gradually weakening, he was like an undying cockroach. No matter what they did, he wouldn't die. Very good. The demonic ancestor couldn't help but nod. As expected, the martial ancestor's successor was extraordinary. He was already halfway there, and if he could keep going, he would become a quasi-supreme. Although it looked like Gu Fei's physical body was constantly being destroyed by the Tai Huang's imprint, and it was very dangerous, danger and opportunity always came hand in hand. Gu Fei was perfecting his great Tao. His Tao was being tempered and then fused into his flesh and blood, his muscles and bones. His entire person was gradually becoming the carrier of his Tao. Some of the old-timers had already seen through Gu Fei's actual situation. The quasi-supreme great Tao had already condensed in his body, and it was now lying dormant, waiting for the moment to soar into the sky. However, not everyone was willing to see Gu Fei succeed in his tribulation. Boom! At this moment, a rumble came from the distance. Then, a ball of sun-like light appeared in the sky, directly smashing towards Gu Fei, who was in the middle of his tribulation. An aura of the extreme Tao spread out from the ball of light, intimidating all directions. The terrifying fluctuations made the entire world feel like it was about to be destroyed. Chapter 30:18. Someone had actually attacked Gu Fei with an extreme path soldier of the way. This was definitely not a small matter. One had to know that an extreme path soldier of the way was not to be underestimated. Using an extreme path soldier of the way, one could unleash the power equivalent to an attack from an extreme path supreme master. If that person had used an extreme path soldier of the way to attack Gu Fei's Wanxiang city in the human realm, how could the Iron Blood Taoists defend it? At this time, although Gu Fei was going through the heavenly tribulation, he also felt the threat from the extreme path soldier of the way. This shocked him. Who was the person who had attacked him? The heavenly monk had just been beaten away by the old turtle. It was definitely not the heavenly monk who had turned back. But other than the heavenly monk of the West Earth, who else had an extreme path soldier of the way and had a grudge against him? At this time, Gu Fei had to deal with the heavenly tribulation and did not have much time to think about these things. Roar! Gu Fei roared. Terrifying sound waves spread out. The entire void was like transparent water rippling violently. Transparent ripples spread out in all directions. He fought fiercely with the Tai Huang's great path incarnation, and a terrifying martial arts might burst out. However, even if he went all out and attacked with all his strength, he was still no match for the Tai Huang's incarnation. He was still constantly being sent flying by the Tai Huang's great path incarnation. But at this time, his way had already melted into his flesh and bones. His martial body was transforming. He was about to become a quasi-supreme master. This was the most crucial moment. Gu Fei was actually in the most dangerous state. The combat power displayed by the Tai Huang's great path incarnation was even more powerful and terrifying. Boom! The Tai Huang's great path incarnation pressed out with a palm. Gu Fei's martial body instantly collapsed into a cloud of blood mist. Within the blood mist, 9 chaotic patterns of the great path were faintly discernible. Every chaotic pattern of the great path emitted a terrifying aura of the great path. Buzz! The 9 chaotic patterns of the great path vibrated together. Then, in the endless chaotic light of the great path, the blood mist surged quickly. A figure appeared. This Gu Fei! Up in the sky, all the experts who saw this scene were inexplicably shocked. Many of the old-timers could already tell that Gu Fei was actually using the power of heavenly tribulation to temper his martial body. Although the Grand Emperor's great Tao incarnation was putting him in danger, it was also constantly tempering his martial body. It's about time. The old ancestor of the demon race stared at the figure in the chaotic light and said, "Good preparation, more daunting than dangerous." The old Taoist who looked like a fortune teller stroked his long beard. Then, he turned around and took a step forward, instantly disappearing into the void. "There's another competitor in the future." These words came out of the sarcophagus. Then, the sarcophagus filled with death chi directly shattered the void and left. Some of the quasi-supreme beings could tell that Gu Fei was about to become a supreme being, so they retreated in advance. However, there were still countless experts watching Gu Fei's every move. Inside Gu Fei's body, his Tao was constantly evolving. The 9 patterns of the Great Path were intertwining and perfecting themselves. He was about to prove his Tao and become a true supreme being. However, at this critical moment, an aura that made the hearts of all living beings tremble came from afar. A huge demonic figure appeared in the starry sky. "The demons finally can't sit still any longer," someone muttered. Other than West Earth's Buddhist sect, Gu Fei also had another great enemy, the devil race. Gu Fei had killed many experts of the devil race, especially the devil race in the East region Devil Cave. He had a great enmity with the devil race. The Taishian sect had been destroyed because of the Eastern demon lair. Of course, revenge had to be taken. Moreover, the demons were the enemies of all living beings in the world. All living beings who encountered the demons would get rid of them as soon as possible. What? The demons are truly unbridled. They actually dared to appear here, someone said with incomparable shock. The demonic figure that appeared in the starry sky caused all the powerful living beings present to feel an immense pressure. It was as if a demon ancestor had appeared. At this moment, the demonic figure directly rushed down from the starry sky. Its huge figure seemed to be blocking the entire sky. This demonic figure was truly too huge. Buzz! At this moment, the Thai sovereign's seal vibrated. Then, a figure stood up from the seal and rapidly grew larger, directly soaring into the starry sky. Boom! The two figures fought. This was simply like a battle between a supreme demon ancestor and the Thai sovereign. A large expanse of the void directly collapsed. The earth and the starry sky were trembling. In the starry sky, huge stars exploded one after another. It was terrifying, as if the world was about to be destroyed. Seeing this scene, all the living beings were stunned. This was simply a battle between supreme beings. The auras that emanated from the two figures caused even supreme beings to tremble. What is this thing? The old ancestor of the demon race raised his head and looked at the two figures fighting in the sky. He couldn't help but frown. There seemed to be something strange about the demonic figure in the sky. That demonic figure did not have any spiritual will. It seemed to be fighting based on its instincts. How could there be such an existence in the world? Very soon, the God's will of the Thai sovereign seal tore the demonic figure apart and destroyed it. It was just a demonic figure without any consciousness. To the God's will of the Thai sovereign seal, dealing with such an existence was nothing. However, just as the God's will of the Thai sovereign seal was dealing with the demonic figure, a demonic light instantly pierced through the front of Gu Fei, nailing him in the void. What? Seeing this scene, all the living beings were shocked to the extreme. So the demonic figure in the sky was just a decoy. The real killer move was this demonic light. The demonic light dissipated and a demonic spear dripping with blood appeared. Boom! In the next moment, Gu Fei's body exploded and turned into a mist of blood. The demonic spear then fell to the ground. The mist of blood surged and Gu Fei's figure appeared in the void again. It was as if he had never been injured, but his face was a little pale. Swoosh! At this moment, the demonic spear that fell to the ground suddenly turned into a demonic light and pierced towards Gu Fei. Humph! The old tortoise's face was very ugly. There were actually demons playing tricks in front of him. They were simply courting death. Swoosh! The God's will of the Thai sovereign seal took a step forward and instantly appeared in the sky. The God's will of the Thai sovereign seal stretched out its hand and blasted an expert of the demons out of the void. Bang! The demonic figure instantly exploded and turned into a mist of blood, dissipating in the void. His body and soul were directly destroyed. It's a demon from the east region of the human world, the old tortoise muttered to himself. At this moment, the God's will of the Thai sovereign seal had already returned and entered the Thai sovereign seal. An extremely terrifying aura emanated from the Thai sovereign seal. The huge seal seemed to be crushing the entire world. This was a power that could destroy heaven and earth. At this moment, no one dared to act rashly. Not only the old tortoise, but even the God's will of the Thai sovereign seal had developed a murderous intent. The God's will of the Thai sovereign seal was conscious. It also felt that it had been tricked by the demons. Once the God's will of the Thai sovereign seal was angry, even a quasi-supreme would tremble. The complete Thai sovereign seal could unleash the powerful combat power of a supreme, comparable to the reincarnation of a supreme. Once such an existence was angry, the world would tremble. Roar! At this moment, Gu Fei let out a furious roar. Endless divine light of the great path of chaos erupted from his body, causing the entire void to tremble. It was as if he had turned into the great path of heaven and earth. An extremely powerful wave of quasi-supreme energy erupted from his body. At this moment, he finally took that step and became a quasi-supreme being. He seemed to be transforming into the way. It was very dangerous, a danger that both his body and soul would be destroyed. However, this was something he had to experience. He had to bear his own way with his own body. This was actually not the true transformation into the way. The Thai sovereign's great path incarnation was dissipating. He no longer attacked. The divine light of the great path that rushed out from Gu Fei's body directly dispersed the power of the heavenly tribulation that had gathered in the sky. Swoosh! The Thai sovereign's great path incarnation once again turned into a mark of the great path. It rushed into the sky and returned to the heavenly path. The heavenly tribulation had ended. Gu Fei had succeeded. In the next moment, within the monstrous divine light of the great path that rushed out from Gu Fei's body, 9 chaotic great path patterns condensed into a mark of the great path. Then, it rushed into the depths of the sky. Seeing this scene, all the creatures who had not taken that step were extremely shocked. They knew that they could not undergo the heavenly tribulation in the heaven realm. This Gu Fei was definitely one of the most powerful quasi-supreme in history. His great path incarnation was simply invincible. Then, the monstrous divine light of chaos that rushed out from Gu Fei's body began to recede like the tide. All of it was absorbed into his body. A divine sound of the great path came out from his body. Soon, this divine sound that resonated with the great path disappeared. Everyone stared at the figure seated in the void. That was a new half-supreme being, powerful to the extreme. However, no one could sense how powerful he was. At this moment, he seemed to be an extremely ordinary human. It was as if he was a human without any magic or power of the great path. However, everyone knew that the combat ability of this new quasi-supreme was absolutely terrifying. There was no doubt about it. This was because this quasi-supreme was the heir of the martial ancestor. Seeing that Gu Fei had finally succeeded in passing the heavenly tribulation, many people's expressions became somewhat complicated. In particular, those who had all kinds of grudges with Gu Fei were even more anxious. Gu Fei had truly risen. In this world, there were not many people who could really threaten him. At this time, a figure came from the distant sky. It was Ghost Emperor Fingdu. Gu Fei's heavenly tribulation had also alarmed him. He had been secretly watching Gu Fei's heavenly tribulation. On the surface, Old Turtle was protecting Gu Fei, but there were also people secretly protecting Gu Fei. Even after Gu Fei succeeded in passing the heavenly tribulation, some people saw Jiang Renhuang's figure suddenly appear. Jiang Renhuang was secretly protecting Gu Fei. No one could really hurt Gu Fei while he was in the midst of passing the heavenly tribulation. Eastern Devil Lair. Chapter 30:19. Gu Fei was infuriated by the fact that the demons in the demonic cavern dared to kill Gu Fei while he was undergoing his tribulation. After Gu Fei successfully transcended his tribulation, he rode the dragon horn Qilin and bid farewell to Old Tortoise before returning to Wenxiang City in the eastern region. At this time, Wenxiang City was decorated with lanterns and streamers. The streets and alleys were filled with a joyous atmosphere as if it was a festival. Most of the residents in Wenxiang City were ordinary people. However, in the soaring dragon ancestral star, the ruler of a city was the city lord. This was because the city lord could protect the residents. In the eyes of the people in the city lord was the local tyrant. Currently, everyone in Wenxiang City had received a large amount of gifts from the city lord's mansion. Such a good thing had never happened in Wenxiang City before. Someone asked around and found out that the city lord had returned with a joyous occasion. It was a celebration for the entire city. Apart from Wenxiang City, the other cities in Gu Fei's territory were also celebrating. Every city was filled with a festive atmosphere. Gu Fei's return had shaken the entire eastern region of the soaring dragon ancestral star. The major forces in the eastern region became even more restrained. Those who had been plotting against Gu Fei in the dark did not dare to make a move. In the past few days, Wenxiang City was bustling with people. After learning that Gu Fei had returned to Wenxiang City, various major forces had sent envoys to visit Gu Fei. The people from the primordial desolate Zhao family and the Yaotai ancient sacred ground had come. Even the Dongfang family had sent envoys, which surprised everyone. In fact, all the cultivators in the eastern region knew about the feud between Gu Fei and the Dongfang family. Many experts of the Dongfang family had died in the hands of Gu Fei. It could be said that the Dongfang family and Gu Fei had a great feud. However, the Dongfang family had sent an envoy to congratulate Gu Fei on successfully transcending his tribulation and becoming a quasi-supreme. It could be said that Gu Fei's attitude towards the Dongfang family was also unfathomable. Gu Fei did not make things difficult for the Dongfang family's envoy. Not only did all the major forces in the eastern region come, but forces from other regions also came to Wenxiang City to congratulate Gu Fei. Some people even saw Ghost Emperor Fengdu's figure in the city lord's mansion. Even Ghost Emperor Fengdu had come. The Jiang family's Jiang Renhuang did not come in person, but an elder of the desolate clan had brought a gift from the Renhuang came. This shocked the various forces. Although Jiang Renhuang did not come in person, his attitude towards Gu Fei was what all the forces cared about the most. The fact that Gu Fei had a friendship with the Jiang family Renhuang was no longer a secret. He seemed to have the attention of the Jiang family Renhuang. He had the support of the Jiang family Renhuang, so those who wanted to deal with Gu Fei would have a headache. It should be known that Jiang Renhuang was definitely the most powerful being in the world. He was a living ultimate emperor realm cultivator. Actually, Gu Fei knew very well that these people were here to congratulate him on his success on the surface. But in reality, they were here to find out the truth about him. Gu Fei did not pay much attention to these red tape. The Iron Blood Taoist would naturally take care of it. At this time, 3 powerful beings of the deity path appeared in Wenxiang City. They were the 3 spirits of the deity path and deity ground that Gu Fei had subdued in the desolate world. The 3 spirits of the deity land were natural-born beings of the immortal Tao. The appearance of such existences in Wenxiang City shocked everyone. When the emissaries of the major powers found out that these 3 beings were actually immortal servants that Gu Fei subdued, they found it even harder to believe that such powerful existences were actually willing to become immortal servants of Gu Fei. The news that Gu Fei had become a quasi-supreme gradually spread throughout the cultivation world of the Soaring Dragon Ancestral Star, then to the Buzhou Ancestral Star, the Crepe Myrtle Ancestral Star, and other ancestral stars. This was the first quasi-supreme since the destruction of the primordial world. Gu Fei's success brought hope to many beings. Ever since the destruction of the primordial world, the great Tao of the world was no longer complete. No one could successfully overcome the tribulation and become a quasi-supreme. Over the years, many beings had been stuck at this stage. Now, these beings had a choice. They could go to the heavenly realm, or go to other realms to undergo the tribulation. The discovery of the desolate world gave these ancient beings another choice. Compared to the heavenly realm, the success rate of undergoing the tribulation in the desolate world was naturally higher. After the excitement, the countless cultivators that had gathered in Wenxiang City began to leave. The city quieted down. One morning, Gu Fei left the city lord's residence of Wenxiang City. He left the fire Qilin, the dragon horn Qilin, and the 3 divine servants behind, and headed for the eastern demon lair alone. With Gu Fei's current cultivation, he would probably be the only Renhuang in the entire world who could catch up with him if he used the 8 steps extreme speed. In next to no time, he'd appeared outside the devilish territory, and then he stopped high in the sky and gazed coldly at the space before him. It was a region shrouded in demonic qi. Demonic qi lingered in the air, and the sky was dark. Frightening demonic howls could be heard from time to time, and demonic figures could be vaguely seen in the demonic qi. Humph! Gu Fei sneered. He raised his right hand and slapped at the void in front of him. Rumble! The void trembled as an incomparably huge chaotic hand appeared in the world, slamming into the demonic realm. In an instant, the demonic aura dissipated, and over a dozen ferocious-looking demonic beings shattered in the void. Roar! Then, a demonic howl was heard from the depths of the demon lair. An extremely powerful demonic figure rushed out from the depths. Who goes there? The demonic figure shouted at Gu Fei. Gu Fei said nothing. He took a step and disappeared in the void. When he reappeared, he was already behind the demonic figure. He no longer paid attention to this ferocious devil and directly walked towards the devil /s den. His figure soon disappeared into the void. Boom! Right after Shaochun left, the demon cultivator's body exploded in an instant, turning into a bloody mist that dissipated into the air. Even his primordial spirit was not able to escape, having been destroyed in both body and spirit. At that moment, Gu Fei appeared in the sky above the demon lair. In the pitch-black demon lair, the demonic qi was vast and mighty. From time to time, powerful figures would appear in the demon lair. The East Region demon lair was caught off guard by Gu Fei's sudden arrival. This was not the first time he came here. But this time, he discovered that there was an unimaginable demonic qi coming from the depths of the demon lair. Looks like the ancient demons have already woken up from their slumber. It's just the right time to take care of these guys. The demons in the East Region demon lair actually dared to attack him while he was undergoing his heavenly tribulation. If he didn't teach them a lesson, they would think that he was a pushover. At that moment, powerful demonic figures rushed out from the depths of the demon lair. Every single one of them exuded an extremely powerful demonic qi. Kill! The demonic figures rushed out from the demon lair and pounced towards Gu Fei. Terrifying demonic might spread out, causing the entire demon lair to tremble. Humph! Gu Fei took a step forward and instantly passed through the charging demonic figures. He then walked towards the bottom of the demon lair without looking back, disappearing from the demon lair. Those demonic shadows were fixed in the void. In the next moment, those demonic shadows dissipated. Their bodies and souls were destroyed, as if they had never appeared in the first place. At this time, the experts in the demon lair were alarmed. They rushed out from the depths of the demon lair and attacked Gu Fei. However, these demons couldn't even withstand a single move from Gu Fei. They were all destroyed by Gu Fei. This caused panic among the demons in the demon lair. Gu Fei didn't care so much. He was like the incarnation of a terrifying Grim Reaper, harvesting the lives of the demons. Boom! At this time, a demonic hand stretched out from the side and collided with Gu Fei's huge hand, producing an extremely dull sound. A demonic figure was sent flying, and demonic blood dripped down from the sky. Overestimating yourself. As Gu Fei spoke, he took a step forward and instantly caught up with the demonic figure that was sent flying. Then, he stomped down with his foot. Boom! With a loud sound, the demonic figure was stomped down from the sky and smashed into the ground. The ground immediately rippled like waves. The demonic figure roared and rushed out from the ground. Swish! A sword light flashed. Like a bolt of lightning, the sword light instantly pierced through the body of the demonic figure. Very soon, the demonic figure's body melted like snow and disappeared into the void. Gu Fei, it's you. At this time, a demonic figure in the demon's den recognized Gu Fei. The words of this demonic figure caused the surrounding demons to turn pale with fright. He's Gu Fei. This was the first time the demons saw Gu Fei's appearance. There's a path to heaven, yet you refuse to take it. There's no door to hell, yet you insist on barging into it. Today I'll send you on your way. A cold voice rang in Gu Fei's heart. Then, a blurry figure approached at high speed. An aura that even Gu Fei felt moved spread out from the figure in the demonic aura. Haha, you want to kill me? Who the hell do you think you are? Gu Fei laughed out loud. He had already become a quasi-supreme being. There weren't many people in this world that could threaten him. Kill! The figure in the demonic aura roared and attacked. A demonic dragon immediately appeared in the void, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws at Gu Fei. Buzz! Gu Fei didn't dare to be careless. He waved his right hand and a dazzling sword light immediately rushed out from his hand, slashing towards the demonic dragon. This was the heaven-punishing sword light. It was extremely powerful. Especially after Gu Fei became a quasi-supreme being, the power of the heaven-punishing sword light was even more terrifying. Swish. Chapter 30-20. Gu Fei had always been domineering, whether it was when he first made his debut or now that he had become a quasi-supreme. He had directly killed his way into the Eastern Devil Lair alone. He was going to settle the score with the demons in the Eastern Devil Lair. The destruction of the Taishan sect had a lot to do with the Eastern Devil Lair. If the Eastern Devil Lair had not suddenly broken the seal and appeared, the Taishan sect would not have declined so quickly. When the seal was broken, the Devil Lair reappeared, and the 9 peaks of Taishan collapsed. Countless demons rushed out of the Devil Lair. Gu Fei did not participate in that battle, but it was extremely tragic. All the major forces in the Eastern Devil Lair suffered great losses, especially the Taishan sect, which bore the brunt. Almost all the elders in the sect died in battle, leaving only the medicine Taoist. And now, even the medicine Taoist and the others had disappeared. Even if Gu Fei wanted to rebuild the Taishan sect, it would be impossible, unless he found his missing fellow disciples. After so many years, he only heard news about Zhao Ziru and Li Lingfeng. But Zhao Ziru disappeared in the Heaven Realm, and Li Lingfeng also disappeared during the Southern Heaven Divine Lord's rebellion. It was unknown whether he was alive or dead. As for the other fellow disciples, it was as if they had simply disappeared from this world. Even if Gu Fei traveled through the human world and the Heaven Realm, he could not find any trace of them. "Today, I will settle the score with you demons, new and old." Gu Fei made a strong move, and the heaven-punishing sword light swept across, directly killing the demon dragon hidden in the demonic chi. Although the demon dragon was only condensed from the demon's magical power, it was not a real demon dragon, but when it was killed by Gu Fei's sword light, it roared in pain, scales and blood splattered everywhere. It was extremely realistic. It was as if a real demonic dragon had been killed by Gu Fei with a single slash. At this time, the Devil Lair was already boiling. Countless demonic shadows rushed over from all directions, and several powerful waves of divine will swept out from the depths of the Devil Lair. Gu Fei, Quasi-Supreme. A demonic figure appeared in front of Gu Fei. The demon that attacked Gu Fei stood respectfully behind the demonic figure. Fiend Ancestor Black Lotus. When Gu Fei saw the demonic figure, his pupils couldn't help but contract. He recognized the devil, and saw that within the devil chi, a black-clothed devil cultivator was riding on a demon qilin. Both the demon and the demon qilin were surrounded by demonic flames. An unimaginably powerful demonic aura spread out from the demon's body. When Gu Fei charged into the demon domain, Gu Fei's clone had fought with the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. Back then, the Black Lotus demonic ancestor was extremely powerful, and Gu Fei's clone wasn't a match for him at all. If not for Ghost Emperor Fengdu's sudden appearance, Gu Fei's clone and Gu Zhong would have been in danger. But now, when Gu Fei encountered the Black Lotus demonic ancestor again, he finally understood how powerful and terrifying this ferocious devil was. It was no wonder why this ferocious devil could fight against Ghost Emperor Fengdu, and not be killed. "Now that old ghost is no longer protecting you, let's see who else can save you." The Black Lotus demonic ancestor stared at Gu Fei. His blood-colored pupils flickered with blood-colored light, and in the depths of his pupils, blood-colored demonic runes were interweaving. "Humph, do you think that you can kill me?" Gu Fei's expression turned grave. This Black Lotus demonic ancestor was truly powerful, but he could tell that the Black Lotus demonic ancestor wasn't invincible. There seemed to be something wrong with the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. He no longer had the invincible cultivation and battle prowess to fight against an extreme Tao supremacy. "Haha, a puny quasi-supreme dares to be so arrogant before me? You're simply courting death." The Black Lotus demonic ancestor laughed out of anger, and his voice spread far. At this time, the demons that came from all directions stopped. With the Black Lotus demonic ancestor personally taking action, there was no longer a need for them to join in the fun. Those demons retreated and stared at Gu Fei and the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. "Gu Fei, Myriad Phenomenon City's Gu Fei, he actually dares to barge into my race's territory." Some demons recognized Gu Fei. One must know that among the demons in the demon cave, many demons had died in the hands of Gu Fei. "If he dares to enter here, he can forget about leaving alive." Some demons gritted their teeth and said, "With the Black Lotus demonic ancestor taking action, it'll be hard for him to survive." All the demons weren't optimistic about Gu Fei's chances. They were very clear about how powerful the Black Lotus demonic ancestor was. He was one of the strongest existences in the demon cave, and he had once shaken the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The Black Lotus demonic ancestor was one of the rulers of the Eastern region demon cave. "Let's fight. Today, either you kill me, or I kill you," Gu Fei spoke. An extremely powerful battle intent erupted from his body as the aura of a quasi-supreme being spread out, intimidating the group of devils. "As you wish." The Black Lotus demonic ancestor didn't say anything more. After that, 2 blood-colored devil lights shot out from his eyes, transforming into 2 blood blades that slashed towards Gu Fei. Swish! In Gu Fei's eyes, Tao runes interweaved as primal light flickered. 2 primal sword shadows shot out from his eyes, clashing against the incoming blood blades. The primal sword light and the blood devil blade light instantly clashed, dissipating into the void at the same time. At the same time, 2 figures moved rapidly in the void, engaging in a fierce battle. Violent energy fluctuations spread out in all directions, causing the entire demon cave to tremble. From the depths of the demon cave, heart-palpitating devil roars could be heard. It was as though a group of devils were dancing chaotically as a terrifying devil aura gushed out. The Black Lotus demonic ancestor was merely one of the rulers of the Eastern region demon cave. There were still other rulers of the demons that had yet to come out. Although those rulers of the demons had yet to come out, their existence was a formless threat to Gu Fei. Because he didn't know when those fellows in the depths of the demon cave would come out. Rumble! The void trembled as pitch-black spatial cracks appeared one after another in the sky. It was as though black lightning had appeared all of a sudden as a destructive aura spread out. This Gu Fei actually. The experts of the demons that were watching from afar were indescribably shocked. This Gu Fei was actually strong enough to contend against the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. This was truly unbelievable. "We can't let this fellow live." An older generation demon spoke. Gu Fei's growth was definitely a great threat to the demons. "Roar!" The Black Lotus demonic ancestor's demon Qilin roared. This demonic beast had one of its horns broken by Ghost Emperor Fengdu. But now, its broken horn had already grown back. The demon Qilin's horn was constantly emitting black demonic light that bombarded Gu Fei. That was the profound devil lightning. If one was struck by it, one's body and soul would be instantly destroyed. Ordinary heavenly venerables wouldn't be able to escape, but Gu Fei wasn't a heavenly venerable. He was a quasi-supreme. The chaotic light that surged out from his body blocked the incoming black lightning. Although the Black Lotus demonic ancestor's demon Qilin was powerful, it was no longer a threat to Gu Fei. Gu Fei's opponent was only the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. This was the supreme demonic ancestor that had once shaken the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Bang! Boom! Gu Fei's palms and fingers constantly clashed with the hands of the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. Muffled sounds rang out constantly as the chaotic energy and demonic energy clashed constantly. 2 silhouettes moved rapidly in the void. Wherever they passed, everything was destroyed. As the 2 silhouettes rushed past, the experts of the devil race who couldn't dodge in time were instantly turned into a mist of blood by the mighty energy fluctuations. Their bodies and souls were directly destroyed. The group of demons was incomparably shocked and panicked. They had no choice but to dodge far away. Boom! The chaotic light and demonic light suddenly exploded. Gu Fei and the Black Lotus demonic ancestor were both sent flying. The Black Lotus demonic ancestor's demon Qilin was coughing out blood. If it wasn't for the Black Lotus demonic ancestor protecting it, this demon Qilin would have already died. What demonic ancestor? Merely SOSO. Gu Fei stood in the void and looked at the Black Lotus demonic ancestor in disdain. His palms and fingers were aching. The Black Lotus demonic ancestor's demonic physique was also incomparably powerful. It wasn't any weaker than Gu Fei's chaotic martial physique. Is that so? The Black Lotus demonic ancestor coldly replied. A powerful demonic aura erupted from his body as a menacing demonic figure vaguely appeared on his body. The warm-up is over. Kill! Gu Fei didn't say anything else. He turned into a streak of chaotic light and charged towards the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. Supreme chaotic force erupted from his body. On Gu Fei's body, chaotic essence surged as his entire body seemed to be enveloped by chaotic flames. Wherever he passed by, the void would collapse, leaving behind a spatial crack. The Black Lotus demonic ancestor's body also erupted with a supreme ripple of demonic energy. A black lotus appeared from the center of his brows before flying out. Boom! Gu Fei slammed his fist against the black lotus. The fist force of a quasi-sovereign state burst forth, shaking the entire world. However, it couldn't move the black lotus at all. The black lotus was only the size of a fist, but it was heavier than 100,000 primordial god mountains. A wave of demonic energy erupted from the black lotus, and Gu Fei was immediately sent flying by this force. This was the great Tao demon lotus, and possessed an unfathomable demonic might. Swish! The demon lotus caught up to Gu Fei instantly. It then blossomed out as a heaven-devouring power spread out from the demon lotus, enveloping Gu Fei and pulling him into the demon lotus. Xing! The great Tao demon lotus quivered as its petals began to close up, sealing Gu Fei within. Ha ha! The Black Lotus demonic ancestor roared out in laughter. If his demon lotus could cleanse this human, his cultivation state might just be able to recover to its peak. The great demon ancestor has won! When the powerful beings of the demons caught sight of this, they could not help but feel shocked. They had not expected that this battle would end so quickly. Chapter 30-21. Gu Fei was incomparably domineering. He directly killed his way into the East Region Devil Cave, alarming one of the devil ancestors in the East Region Devil Cave, the Black Lotus Devil Ancestor. The Black Lotus Devil Ancestor was a devil that had once shaken the 9 heavens and 10 earths. He had survived that chaos, which was enough to show how extraordinary he was. At this time, the group of demons saw that the Black Lotus Devil Ancestor had sucked Gu Fei into the Great Tao Devil Lotus. The Black Lotus Devil Ancestor's Great Tao Devil Lotus was a killing weapon that could kill a quasi-supreme. Once the Devil Lotus closed, Gu Fei would be dead. This is the result of arrogance, an expert of the devil race said disdainfully. Gu Fei's previous performance had made all the experts of the devil race unhappy. Now that Gu Fei was about to suffer, they naturally rejoiced in his misfortune. Daring to challenge the Lord Devil Ancestor, he's simply courting death, an expert of the devil race asked. However, the Black Lotus Devil Ancestor's expression was solemn. Devilish flames curled around his body. Even the devil Qilin under him was roaring uneasily. What's going on? The demons were all ancient devils that had lived for countless years. To be able to live to this day, they were naturally very shrewd. They could naturally see that something was wrong. It seems like the ancient devils were no longer calm. Rumble! The great Tao Devil Lotus that was floating in front of the Black Lotus Devil Ancestor emitted thunderous sounds. Devilish runes appeared and interweaved on the great Tao Devil Lotus. A terrifying aura of the Devil Tao erupted from the great Tao Devil Lotus. That Gu Fei is actually still alive! An ancient devil exclaimed. How is this possible? The ancient devils were indescribably shocked. It was hard to imagine that Gu Fei was still alive after being sucked into the great Tao Devil Lotus. Was this even possible? However, the truth spoke louder than words. The great Tao Devil Lotus was constantly trembling. Gu Fei seemed like he was about to rush out. A powerful energy rippled from the great Tao Devil Lotus. Good heavens! Even the Black Lotus Demon Ancestor couldn't help but be moved. Demonic chi surged from his body, incinerating the void. His hands kept forming seals, sending demonic runes into the great Tao Demon Lotus. The demonic aura emanating from the Great Path Demon Lotus became even stronger. It was as if it was going to crush the entire world and shatter it. A world-destroying might spread throughout the Devil's Cave. That's right. This was the power to destroy the world. All the ancient devils' expressions changed. This Gu Fei could actually force the devil ancestor to go all out. When the Black Lotus Demon Ancestor was at his peak, He was definitely the strongest existence in the world, and he could even fight against extreme sovereigns. But now, even if there was a problem with his cultivation, and he couldn't fight against extreme sovereigns, his fighting power still couldn't be underestimated. I refuse to believe that I can't refine a puny human like you. The Black Lotus demon ancestor was furious. He had no choice but to go all out. A terrifying demonic aura spread out from his body, causing the entire Devil's Cave to tremble. At this time, the tyrannical aura from the Black Lotus demon ancestor directly spread out from the eastern region Devil's Cave. Not only could all the living beings in the Devil Domain feel this aura, even the living beings outside the Devil Domain could feel it. What happened in the Devil's Cave? Outside the Demon's Domain, when the spies of the major forces sensed the mighty demon Tao aura coming from the Demon's Den, they were inexplicably shocked. Very quickly, the spies of the major powers spread the news. Not long after, incomparably powerful existences arrived outside the Devil Domain. The movements of the Eastern Region Devil's Cave had always been under the surveillance of the major powers in the Eastern Region. One must know that the devils in the Eastern Region Devil's Cave were a deterrent to the entire Eastern Region. Only by constantly monitoring the movements in the Devil's Cave could they know what the devils wanted to do. At this time, the spies of the major powers outside the Devil Domain had no idea what was happening in the Devil's Cave. They were all bewildered. No one dared to act rashly. One must know that the devils in the Eastern Region Devil's Cave were not easy to deal with. Especially those ancient devils, they were incomparably powerful and could even kill sages. Just as the experts of the major powers were rushing to the Devil Domain, but they were all watching from the outside, in the depths of the Devil's Cave, the Black Lotus demon ancestor erupted with a powerful demonic aura. However, the great Tao demon lotus floating in front of the Black Lotus demon ancestor was shaking more and more violently. Even when the Black Lotus demon ancestor used his full strength, he was actually unable to suppress Gu Fei inside the great Tao demon lotus. How is this possible? The Black Lotus demon ancestor's expression suddenly changed, and he instantly disappeared into the void. At the instant when the Black Lotus demon ancestor disappeared into the void on the demon Qilin, the great Tao demon lotus actually flashed with 9 resplendent demonic lights, and a violent aura erupted from the great Tao demon lotus. In the next moment, there was a boom. The great Tao demon lotus instantly exploded, and countless demonic patterns were annihilated in the void. A figure directly rushed out of the great Tao demon lotus. What? Seeing this scene, all the experts of the demons were scared silly. Countless fragments of the great Tao demon lotus shot in all directions, instantly piercing through the bodies of countless experts of the demons. Roar! An ancient devil roared unwillingly, and his entire body turned into dust, dissipating in the void. The power of the great Tao demon lotus was absolutely terrifying. All the ancient devils whose bodies were pierced by the fragments of the great Tao demon lotus were instantly turned into dust. Even those who were grazed by the fragments of the great Tao demon lotus were turned into dust, their bodies and souls destroyed. Damn it! The Black Lotus demon ancestor's figure appeared in the distant sky. Endless demonic aura surged from his body, and all the fragments of the great Tao demon lotus that shot towards him were blocked by him. A layer of demonic light that looked like waves appeared on his body, enveloping him and the demon Qilin beneath him. When the fragments of the great Tao demon lotus hit the layer of demonic light, they only caused a few circles of ripples. At this moment, all the ancient devils who were watching the battle from afar were hit. A large number of ancient devils fell down, and then directly turned into dust, their bodies and souls destroyed. Seeing this scene, the Black Lotus demon ancestor was both shocked and furious. Those were all ancient devils, existences that had lived for countless years, and could even kill sages. But now, they died for nothing. One must know that these ancient devils were the strongest combat strength of the Devil's Den. Losing so many of them in one go, even the Black Lotus demon ancestor felt incomparably pained. If I don't kill you, I swear not to become a devil! The Black Lotus demon ancestor roared at the sky. His blood-red hair fluttered in the wind and an extremely violent demonic might erupted from his body. A black lotus appeared on his forehead and a blood-red light shot out from his eyes, piercing through the void. Chapter 30:22. Although Gu Fei had been sucked into the great Tao demon lotus by the black lotus demon ancestor, not only was he not refined by the great Tao demon lotus, but he even shattered the great Tao demon lotus and charged out. This was something that no one had expected. All the spectating ancient devils thought that Gu Fei was dead for sure, but Gu Fei shattered the great Tao demon lotus and charged out. As a result, the spectating ancient devils were unlucky. The fragments of the great Tao demon lotus shot out in all directions, piercing through the bodies of countless ancient devils. Large numbers of ancient devils fell to the ground, their bodies turning into dust. Their souls were completely destroyed. Seeing this scene, even Gu Fei was shocked. He didn't expect the fragments of the great Tao demon lotus to be so powerful that they could kill ancient devils at the sage realm. At this time, an ancient cauldron floated above his head. Primordial chaos energy descended from the ancient cauldron and enveloped him. Mountain and river cauldron, it's the mountain and river cauldron. The furious black lotus ancestor was both shocked and furious. No wonder he couldn't refine this fella even with the great Tao demon lotus. So this fella had the mountain and river cauldron to protect him. Buzz! At this time, the mountain and river cauldron above Gu Fei's head vibrated. Then, a figure appeared from the mountain and river cauldron. It was a small old man. I say, brat, when can you calm down and let this old man rest for a while? This small old man was the god of the mountain and river cauldron. He was in a deep slumber, but he was woken up again. This made him very unhappy. TCH, I'm about to be refined to death. If you don't come out, who's going to save me? Gu Fei said disapprovingly. Yes, not bad. You're already a quasi-supreme. You didn't disappoint me. This also proves that my judgment isn't bad. I didn't misjudge you. The small old man didn't even look at the black lotus ancestor as he spoke to Gu Fei. The god of the mountain and river cauldron. The black lotus demon ancestor was even more shocked when he saw the little old man appear on the mountain and river cauldron. Was the mountain and river cauldron a flawless extreme Tao artifact? How was that possible? One had to know that in that distant era, many supreme Tao weapons had been destroyed, and even supremes had fallen, let alone supreme Tao weapons refined by supremes. However, the Black Lotus demon ancestor was well aware of how terrifying a flawless extreme Tao artifact was. It was practically equivalent to an extreme Tao supremacy arriving in person. His Great Path Demon Lotus was actually a peerless demonic tool that could contend with an extreme Path Tao soldier. However, it had been damaged during a great battle in a distant era. Even now, it had not been fully repaired. If his Great Tao Demon Lotus was also a perfect demonic artifact, it wouldn't have been shattered so easily by Gu Fei's cauldron of mountain and river. The Black Lotus Demon Ancestor's Great Tao Demon Lotus was destroyed once again, shattering into countless pieces. This time, the demonic artifact was completely destroyed. A drop of devil blood seeped out from the Black Lotus demonic ancestor's forehead before sliding down his face and dripping onto the ground. Kill! Without any hesitation, the Black Lotus demonic ancestor roared in rage. He rode on the demon Qilin and charged towards Gu Fei. An extremely terrifying demonic aura erupted from his body. Rumble! The entire demonic cave was shaking as though it could collapse at any time. An even stronger wave of demonic energy came from the depths of the demonic cave. Terrifying demonic marks appeared in the void of the entire cave. These demonic marks froze the trembling demonic cave. Supreme-grade demonic marks. Gu Fei was taken aback. This demonic cave seemed to be opened up by an extreme Tao demon ancestor. Otherwise, who would be able to use supreme-grade demonic marks? Kill! At this moment, Gu Fei didn't have much time to think. He directly charged towards the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. Boom! Two figures collided instantly, and an incomparably shocking sound erupted. Gu Fei was directly sent flying by the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. Hand over your life! the Black Lotus demonic ancestor roared as he chased after Gu Fei. Roar! The demon Qilin under the Black Lotus demonic ancestor roared and spat out a demon pearl. This demon pearl instantly enlarged and turned into a black sun, smashing towards Gu Fei. The black sun formed by the Qilin demon pearl emitted a towering demonic flame that swept towards Gu Fei. Preposterous! Gu Fei was shocked at the strength of the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. As for the attack of the demon Qilin, he didn't even bother about it. No matter how strong the demon Qilin was, it was not a match for him. Swish! Gu Fei immediately unleashed a heaven-punishing sword light. With a flash of the sword light, the black sun, smashing towards him, was immediately split into two halves by the extremely sharp sword light and fell from the sky. The demon Qilin roared out as its expression turned weary. The destruction of the Qilin demon pearl had caused the demon Qilin to suffer a huge blow. At the same time, Gu Fei was sent flying by the Black Lotus demonic ancestor once again. Blood oozed out from his nose and mouth. Even his quasi-sovereign martial body had suffered a huge blow. Old man, you're just watching from the side. Why aren't you making a move? Gu Fei was extremely depressed. The deity of the mountain and river cauldron was simply too unreliable. I thought you could do it, the small old man on the mountain and river cauldron said. Get rid of this fella quickly. Gu Fei roared at the small old man. So you can't do it? Then I'll reluctantly help you get rid of this fella. The small old man shook his head and said, You! Gu Fei was nearly angered by this small old man to the point of vomiting blood. Bam! The Black Lotus demonic ancestor charged over once more. A violent power of the demon Tao burst forth, sending Gu Fei flying. At this moment, a figure descended from the sky and blocked in front of the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. An aura of the extreme Tao spread out from this figure. Kill! The Black Lotus demonic ancestor's eyes were bloodshot. He would dare to kill anyone who stood in his way right now. Anyone who dared to stand in his way deserved to die. However, the one standing in his way was no ordinary living being. It was the deity of the mountain and river cauldron. The small old man stretched out his right hand and grabbed the fist of the Black Lotus demonic ancestor. Get down! The small old man roared out and swung the Black Lotus demonic ancestor up before smashing him onto the ground. Boom! A loud explosion rang out as the ground trembled. That incomparably ferocious Black Lotus demonic ancestor was smashed onto the ground by the deity of the mountain and river cauldron. Cauldron suppresses the great demon. The deity of the mountain and river cauldron descended from the sky as a terrifying aura descended from the mountain and river cauldron. Roar! From the huge pit on the ground, the roars of the Black Lotus demonic ancestor and demon Qilin rang out. Boom! Chapter 30:23. The god of the mountain and river cauldron made its move. The little old man directly disappeared into the mountain and river cauldron. Then, the mountain and river cauldron pressed down from the sky. Boom! The entire ground was collapsing. An extremely terrifying might of the extreme Tao erupted from the mountain and river cauldron. In the devil's den, countless demonic ruins of the extreme Tao appeared and then collapsed. They were directly obliterated by the mighty power of the extreme Tao. The entire devil's den was in great turmoil and was about to collapse. The attack of the mountain and river cauldron was definitely a disaster to the entire devil's Denver. A terrifying disaster. Countless ferocious demons roared, letting out their final roars of unwillingness. The great destruction began. With the mountain and river cauldron as the center, it spread out in all directions. The entire devil's den was collapsing. It was as terrifying as the end of the world. Countless demons directly collapsed in the void, turning into blood mist. Their bodies and souls were destroyed. The Black Lotus demon ancestor and his mount, the demon Qilin, didn't even have the chance to scream before they died. They were directly killed by the mountain and river cauldron, their bodies and souls destroyed. One must know that this was the power of the extreme Tao. The Black Lotus demon ancestor was no longer the extreme Tao demon ancestor. Under the full power of the mountain and river cauldron, even if he was once the invincible demon ancestor, he wouldn't be able to withstand the might of this attack. The Black Lotus demon ancestor died just like that. Gu Fei sighed when he saw this. The demon ancestor of a generation actually died just like that. Although he escaped that calamity and lived to this day, he still died under the mountain and river cauldron. The Devil's Den collapsed. No one expected such an outcome. Countless demons died. Just as the most mysterious place in the depths of the Devil's Den was about to be destroyed, a supreme power of the Devil Tao spread out from the most mysterious place. A ball of demonic light actually blocked the power of the mountain and river cauldron. A demonic figure appeared in the world, actually supporting a part of the world and contending against the power of the mountain and river cauldron. Buzz! The mountain and river cauldron shook. Primordial chaos chi surged and the body of the mountain and river cauldron actually turned into a little old man. That little old man was like a supreme being of the extreme Tao. The aura on his body was enough to crush everything. Gu Fei, who was enveloped by the power of the cauldron of mountain and river, was not affected at all. He looked at the scene in shock. This was the might of the extreme Tao. To think that a single strike from the mountain and river cauldron could destroy everything in its path. This was way too scary. One had to know that this was a void that was sealed by the extreme Tao demon marks. In front of the mountain river cauldron, even the void sealed by the extreme path demonic pattern was like a thin piece of paper, easily torn apart. Rumble! As the two extreme powers clashed, the little old man waved his hand, and Gu Fei flew to his side. I didn't expect there to be an extreme Tao demonic artifact in this demon den. Even I was mistaken. The little old man changed from his usual playful and angry demeanor, and his expression became incomparably grave. An incomplete extreme path devil tool would not make him pay so much attention. That extreme path devil tool was definitely a perfect extreme path devil tool. I say, old man, with you making a move, what can't you handle? Who cares what kind of demonic tool it is, just kill it. Gu Fei said disapprovingly. Yes, haha, who do you think I am? I am the mountain and river cauldron, kill it with one move. The little old man laughed loudly. Don't go too far. The demonic figure opposite him suddenly sent out a wave of divine will. One had to know that the extreme path devil tool was actually a different kind of life, and the god in the devil tool was not to be trifled with. Is this too much? I don't think so. All right, I'll send you on your way. The little old man said and was about to make a move. However, the demonic figure opposite him suddenly shattered the void and rushed into the chaos with the 3 stone coffins surrounded by devil chi, disappearing in an instant. The next time we meet, we must fight to the death. A wave of divine will came out from the chaos void. The demonic figure had actually escaped. It seemed that the demonic figure had some scruples and was unwilling to fight with the mountain and river cauldron now. The little old man did not chase into the chaos. Hey, old man, are you kidding me? Did you get tricked by that guy just like that? Gu Fei looked at the little old man unhappily and said, It's not the time yet. The little old man looked at the shattered void in front of him and suddenly sighed. What did you say? When Gu Fei heard this, he immediately pricked up his ears. He thought that the little old man would reveal some ancient secrets, but he was immediately disappointed because the little old man did not say anything after that. All right, this time we've wiped out the East Region Devil Denver. It can be considered as your revenge, the little old man said. TSK, didn't the culprit escape? This can also be considered revenge, Gu Fei said disapprovingly. Brat, be content. Those guys are not people you can deal with, unless you can break through the extreme realm and make the ultimate leap to become an extreme path supreme, the little old man said. Since ancient times, there have been countless cultivators, but in the 3 realms and 6 paths, there were very few living beings who could become extreme path supreme. Ever since the untainted land was shattered and the passage between the heaven realm and the mortal world was cut off, no living beings could make the ultimate leap. Becoming an extreme path supreme is too difficult, Gu Fei said. As long as your fighting spirit is not extinguished and your heart to seek the Tao never stops, You can become the existence you want to become, the little old man suddenly said earnestly. Gu Fei was the fastest person he had met to become a quasi-supreme. In his opinion, Gu Fei definitely had a chance to become an extreme path supreme. If it's so easy, there would be many supremes in this world, Gu Fei said. At this time, the entire devil den collapsed and endless dust buried everything. Of course, the dust couldn't bury Gu Fei and the others. Let's go. The little old man grabbed Gu Fei and instantly disappeared into the void. In the next moment, they appeared in the void outside. At this time, the incomparably terrifying Xian Devil Qi was spreading in all directions. The experts of the major forces watching outside the devil den were shocked and hurriedly retreated. Some cultivators who couldn't escape in time were eroded by the Xian Devil Qi and lost their consciousness. Then, shocking changes happened to them and they turned into ferocious and terrifying monsters. These monsters only knew how to kill. The ferocious monsters that the demonized cultivators had turned into rushed out of the devil Qi and pounced on the human race cultivators. Evil creatures! A middle-aged cultivator waved his right hand and an extremely sharp sword light immediately rushed out from his hand, instantly piercing through more than a dozen monsters that pounced on him. However, there were many human race cultivators who were demonized by the Xian Devil Qi. Some of the monsters rushed into the crowd and immediately, flesh and blood flew everywhere, blood splashed, and screams rang out incessantly. No one knew what happened. Even the saint-level living beings were running for their lives. Let's return peace to the East Domain. Chapter 30-24. An ancient cauldron as large as a mountain appeared in the sky above the demon domain. Then, a terrifying heaven-devouring power surged out from the ancient cauldron. Rumble! The void shook, and the dense profound demonic chi in the surroundings immediately gathered towards the mouth of the ancient cauldron, and was devoured by the ancient cauldron. Then, the profound demonic chi in the surroundings was attracted and gathered towards the ancient cauldron. Next to the ancient cauldron stood a black-robed young man. He looked at the ancient cauldron with a complicated expression. The mountain and river cauldron could even refine and absorb demonic chi. The profound demonic chi in the eastern demon cave was too huge. This kind of demonic power was infinitely close to the sovereign level. If the mountain and river cauldron devoured this kind of power, it might be able to recover to its peak state. Gu Fei knew that even the mountain and river cauldron had suffered a blow in that ancient era. Even now, it still hadn't fully recovered. Very quickly, the living beings outside the infernal domain discovered that the vast and mighty profound devil chi within the infernal domain had actually retreated like the tide, and even the demonic beings transformed from the human clan cultivators had fallen to the ground. The devil chi on their bodies was forcefully extracted by that force, and then they transformed into black powder, their bodies and souls destroyed. This is... Some powerful saint-level creatures couldn't help but be shocked when they saw this. Could it be that the demons in the demon domain had rushed out? If that was the case, it was definitely not a good thing. The Eastern Demon Cave had always been the greatest threat to the creatures in the Eastern Demon Domain. No one knew when these demons would come out of the Demon Cave. Once the devils in the Devil's Den came out, it would be a disaster for all living beings in the Eastern Domain. However, no demons rushed out from the depths of the Demon Domain. The saint-level creatures could sense that the demonic aura in the entire Demon Domain was weakening. What's going on? Some saints frowned as they watched this scene. Not long after, the profound demonic chi in the entire Demon Domain was devoured by the mountain and river cauldron. The creatures outside could no longer sense any demonic aura. How is this possible? All the living beings were inexplicably shocked. They didn't know what had happened in the Demon Domain. The demonic aura of the Eastern Region Demon Lair had actually disappeared. At this time, even the strongest existence in the Eastern Region was alarmed. A figure appeared in the sky above the Eastern Region Devil Cave. It was a woman with a bronze mask on her face. The Eastern Sky Tyrant Emperor had arrived. Shwa! A beam of golden light descended from the sky and landed in the Eastern Region Devil Lair. A tall figure with golden divine light all over his body appeared in the void. The supreme deity from the Zhao clan of the Desolate had arrived. It didn't take long for all of the hidden experts of the Eastern Domain to arrive. They were all old-timers who had lived for countless years. Many of them had participated in that ancient war and survived. None of the old-timers who had lived to this day were simple. Although these existences arrived very quickly, only the Eastern Sky Tyrant King and the peerless god from the primordial Zhao clan saw the ancient cauldron instantly disappear into the void. "It's him." The Eastern Sky Tyrant King looked pensive, and the eyes behind the bronze mask flickered with a bright light. "He destroyed the Devil Cave just after becoming a quasi-supreme," the golden deity muttered to himself. Then, he turned into a beam of golden light and soared into the sky, instantly disappearing into the void. After that, the Eastern Sky Tyrant King also left. At this time, the old antiques in the distance dared to come over. When they saw the huge pit on the ground, they were all shocked to the extreme. "The Devil Cave no longer exists," someone said with a trembling voice. One had to know that the Black Lotus Devil ancestor was in charge of the Eastern Region Devil Cave. The major forces of the Eastern Region were very wary of the Black Lotus Devil ancestor, and no one was willing to offend him. But now, the Eastern Region Devil Cave had been destroyed. Could it be that the Black Lotus Devil ancestor had been killed? The possibility of the Black Lotus Devil ancestor being killed was very high. After all, even the Eastern Region Devil Cave had been destroyed. If the Black Lotus Devil ancestor hadn't died, who could destroy the Eastern Region Devil Cave? Only one big shot would know who did all of this. The news of the Eastern Region Devil Cave being destroyed spread very quickly. This was definitely explosive news. The Eastern Region was shaken, the entire soaring dragon ancestral star was shaken, and the entire human world of cultivation was shaken. This was even more shocking than when Gu Fei and the old tortoise leveled the Heaven Realm's forbidden area. That was because that was a devil cave that was almost impossible to be leveled, and it was guarded by the Black Lotus Devil ancestor. Very soon, the news spread that the person who leveled the Eastern Region Devil Cave was Gu Fei. Of course, this was just a guess. That peerless deity from the Zhao clan and the Eastern Sky Tyrant King from the Dongfang clan didn't say anything. Naturally, no one else knew that it was Gu Fei who did it. Master actually leveled the Eastern Region Devil Cave. In Wenxiang City, the Iron Blood Taoist muttered to himself on the city wall. He never thought that Gu Fei would actually do such an earth-shattering thing as soon as he came back. Leveling the Eastern Region Devil Cave. After the transformation of the Immortal Transformation Lake, the physique of the entire Meng clan had transformed into the Immortal Physique. Cultivators with the Immortal Physique would definitely be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort, and their cultivation speed would be much faster than ordinary cultivators. Moreover, to a certain extent, cultivators with the Immortal Physique were already considered immortals. It was definitely not an exaggeration to say that the Immortal Transformation Lake could allow ordinary cultivators to become immortals. Very well, cultivate well. Perhaps you guys will be of help in the future. Gu Fei nodded. He was very satisfied with the improvement of the Ming clan. This is all thanks to the help of the Lord, the old clan leader of the Ming clan said hurriedly. Hee, old clan leader, you don't have to be so humble. This is mainly because the physiques of the Ming clan are pretty good. Otherwise, you guys wouldn't have achieved what you have today even with my help, Gu Fei said with a smile. Our clan will never forget the great kindness that the Lord has shown us, the old clan leader said. Cultivate well and try your best to improve your cultivation. You should know that even I might not be able to protect you guys when the great calamity comes. Gu Fei pondered for a moment and said such words. The great calamity. The old clan leader of the Ming clan and the higher-ups of the Ming clan were shocked. All right, I'm leaving. That's all, Gu Fei said and stood up. The old clan leader of the Ming clan stood up and led the higher-ups of the Ming clan to send Gu Fei off. Once he was out of Ming City, Gu Fei took a step and disappeared from the eyes of the higher-ups of the Ming clan. No one could see how he left. Great calamity? What does that mean? The old ancestor of the Ming clan muttered to himself as he looked at the direction where Gu Fei disappeared. Since Gu Fei didn't say, he didn't dare to ask either. However, this was a wake-up call for the Ming clan. Old ancestor, what do you think the Lord means? A black-clothed middle-aged man cautiously said to the old patriarch of the Ming family. The other higher-ups of the Ming clan looked at the old clan leader. How would I know? You asked me, but who am I supposed to ask? The old clan leader said snappily. He thought for a while and said, All of you, go back and cultivate hard. Try your best to improve your cultivation. Yes, old ancestor. The crowd quickly replied. Chapter 30-25. In the inner world, Gu Fei went to the Death Valley of the Undying clan after leaving the Ming city of the Ming clan. The Death Valley was naturally a place where there was only death. The entire valley was shrouded in a deathly aura. In this inner world that was full of vitality, such a valley seemed out of place. Although the vicinity of Death Valley was also full of vitality, there was no trace of a single living being. Within 10 miles of Death Valley, not a single living being could be found. None of the living beings would get close to death. Once they sensed the deathly aura coming from the valley, they would avoid it in fear. At this moment, the 3 undying emperors, who were rarely seen, came out. A powerful deathly aura spread out from the 3 figures, causing all the undying beings in the valley to panic. Greetings, Master. The 3 undying emperors hurriedly came before Gu Fei and bowed to Gu Fei. You guys have been doing well these years. Tell me your plans. Gu Fei glanced at the 3 undying emperors and said, Master, you. The emperor of the underworld said hesitantly. They didn't know what Gu Fei meant, so they were very cautious. The Bone Emperor and the Corpse Emperor looked at Gu Fei in confusion. Reverse life and death and become a saint. Gu Fei uttered these words. What? The 3 undying emperors were surprised and delighted. Wasn't the goal of the undying beings to reverse life and death and be reborn? Master, you are saying, the 3 undying emperors said excitedly. That's right. I can help you reverse life and death and become a saint, Gu Fei said. Master, is this true? The 3 undying emperors couldn't believe their ears. The thing that they had been desperately pursuing had actually delivered itself to their doorstep. This made them feel that it was unreal. What do you guys think? Gu Fei said impatiently. Master's words will never be wrong. Thank you, Master, for helping us. Then, the Emperor of the Underworld knelt down. Thank you, Master. Bone Emperor and Corpse Emperor knelt down as well. At this time, Bone Emperor had already refined the Bone Dragon and possessed an incomparably powerful bone body. However, this made him feel very conflicted. He had just obtained a powerful bone body. Could it be that he had to give it up? To reverse life and death and regenerate flesh and blood, the original body's bones were naturally the most suitable. Let me help you. Gu Fei glanced at Bone Emperor and said. Then, he directly fused Bone Emperor's Yuan spirit with the dragon skeleton. In this way, Bone Emperor's Yuan spirit was completely fused with the dragon skeleton, and there was no distinction between them. All right, there won't be any future troubles, Gu Fei said. With his current cultivation base, fusing the primordial spirit of Bone Sovereign with the dragon skeleton was as easy as flipping his palm. Thank you, Master. Bone King was extremely excited. One should know that this was an ancestral dragon skeleton. Such a bone body was definitely extremely powerful. Although Bone King had barely managed to refine the ancestral dragon skeleton, it was hard for him to fuse with it. This time, Gu Fei completely fused the primordial spirit of Bone Sovereign with the ancestral dragon skeleton, eliminating the hidden danger of Bone King. Alright, go to the Immortal Transformation Lake. Each of you will get a peach of immortality and jump into the Immortal Transformation Lake. If you guys are still alive after that, you guys will be able to reverse life and death and regenerate your flesh and blood, Gu Fei said. Peach of Immortality, Immortal Transformation Lake. The 3 undying emperors looked at each other in doubt. One should know that it was the Immortal Transformation Lake that contained immortal Qi. This immortal Qi was the nemesis of death Qi. You guys are undying beings. Trying to reverse life and death is equivalent to defying the heavens. It won't be that easy. As long as your yuanshin isn't destroyed and your flesh and blood are regenerated, you might be able to break through the shackles of cultivation and become saint-level experts. Gu Fei explained. If we fail, won't our bodies and souls be destroyed? The Emperor of the Underworld said emotionally. He had thought of the consequences. To these living beings, the destruction of their bodies and souls was equivalent to death. How about this? If one of you fails, I'll give him a chance to continue on the path of undying and become the strongest undying being, Gu Fei said after some thought. The 3 undying emperors were overjoyed. Their master was too kind to them. With his words, even if they failed, their bodies and souls wouldn't be destroyed. In fact, if an undying being walked on the path of undying, it wouldn't be any weaker than other living beings. Go! Gu Fei waved his hand and a mass of chaotic light enveloped the 3 undying emperors. Then, they disappeared into the void. At this moment, the other undying beings in the valley dared to come out from their hiding places. They looked around in fear. The immortal transformation lake was shrouded in celestial light. The immortal peach trees beside the lake were filled with immortal peach trees that emitted a fruity fragrance. The immortal peach trees emitted a brilliant spiritual light as if there were stars hanging on the trees. This was the quasi-immortal divine medicine. It contained chaotic energy internally and the power of yin and yang intertwined on the outside. A single fruit actually contained both the power of yin and yang. It was definitely a spiritual item that was created by the heavens and earth. Swoosh! At this moment, a mass of chaotic light wrapped around a few figures and appeared by the immortal transformation lake. The chaotic light dissipated and a few figures appeared. The 3 figures surrounded by the aura of death appeared by the immortal transformation lake and cried out in surprise. They realized that the dense immortal energy around them was actually destroying the aura of death on their bodies. At this moment, Gu Fei waved his hand, and the 3 immortality peaches immediately fell into his hand. These peach fruits can save your lives. Keep them well. Don't hesitate when you're in a life and death situation. Eat the peach fruits or refine the peach fruits to live. Gu Fei waved his hand again and the 3 peach fruits in his hand immediately flew to the 3 undying emperors. The 3 undying emperors quickly caught the peach fruits and were about to bow to Gu Fei. However, at this moment, Gu Fei disappeared into the void. Make good use of this opportunity. Gu Fei's voice came from the sky. Yes, master. The 3 undying emperors hurriedly knelt on the ground. Whether we live or die depends on this, the Emperor of the Underworld said. Old Bones, this time around, you're in some danger. Your body is the ancestral dragon bone. It's definitely not an easy task to regrow the flesh and blood of the ancestral dragon bone. This is equivalent to resurrecting an ancestral dragon, the Corpse Emperor said with a fake smile, as if he was taking pleasure in the misfortune of others. Back in the ancient heavenly court, the 3 undying emperors fought for the ancestral dragon bone. In the end, the Bone Emperor won and obtained the ancestral dragon bone. The Underworld Emperor and the Corpse Emperor were naturally unhappy. It was especially so for the Emperor of the Underworld. He had been tricked by the Bone Emperor and the Corpse Emperor and was defeated by them. This made him extremely depressed. In the end, the Bone Emperor defeated the Corpse Emperor. Although he was the final winner, the relationship between the 3 undying emperors was very strained. Of course, the 3 undying emperors didn't dare to fall out with each other. After all, their master, Gu Fei, definitely didn't want them to have internal strife. Humph! The Bone Emperor snorted coldly, but he didn't say anything. In his skull, the primordial spirit flame emitted a dazzling divine light like a burning sun. He was aware of his own situation. Although he had obtained the help of Gu Fei to fuse his primordial spirit with the ancestral dragon bone, as the Corpse Emperor had said, if he were to be reborn, it would be equivalent to resurrecting an ancestral dragon. The ancestral dragon was definitely the most powerful dragon in the world. It was almost impossible for such a powerful creature to be resurrected after its death. It seems like it's not a bad thing that we can't get the ancestral dragon bone, the Underworld Emperor sighed. the Corpse Emperor and the Underworld Emperor didn't think that the Bone Emperor would succeed. The more powerful a creature was, the more difficult it would be to reverse life and death and regrow flesh and blood. Of course, it wasn't that no one had taken that step. To a certain extent, the Bone Emperor still had a chance, but the chance was very slim. All right, there's no point in talking too much. Let's see who will have the last laugh among the three of us, the Bone Emperor said coldly. Then, without any hesitation, he leaped into the Immortal's transformation lake. Plop! The Underworld Emperor and the Corpse Emperor glanced at each other before leaping into the Immortal transformation lake as well. The three Undying Emperors entered the Immortal transformation lake, and the entire lake boiled. The Immortal Chi and the Death Chi intertwined. The Immortal Chi was destroying the Death Chi. From time to time, miserable cries could be heard from the Immortal transformation lake. The three great Undying Emperors were in great danger. It must be known that they were undying creatures and cultivated the power of death, which was a natural counter to the Immortal Chi in the Immortal transformation lake. This time, the three Undying Emperors had staked everything on one throw. Of course, they had their own ways to protect their lives. However, the process of dying made them suffer greatly. At this moment, Gu Fei had left behind a clone to sit in the sky above the celestial transformation lake, paying attention to the movements in the lake. His real body left the inner world and appeared in the cultivation room of the Wanxiang city. Why is this guy here? As soon as Gu Fei came out of the inner world, he sensed the guy's aura. Then, he walked out of the cultivation room and arrived at the main hall of the city lord's mansion. Haha! I was wondering what kind of wind blew an old tortoise to my place. Gu Fei laughed as he walked up to the throne in the main hall and sat down. The person who was carefully accompanied by the Iron Blood Taoist was the old tortoise. I say, brother, this place of yours is a little too shabby. How about I give you an immortal mansion? No matter what, it's at least 100 times better than this city. An immortal mansion, I can still give it to you. The old tortoise glanced at Gu Fei, who was sitting on the throne, and said. He crossed his legs, picked up a spiritual fruit, threw it into his mouth, and started chewing. Cut the crap. Do you think I don't know you? You're definitely up to no good by coming here. Tell me, what do you need my help with? Chapter 30-26. Gu Fei was very surprised that the old tortoise had come to Wanxiang City. One must know that the old tortoise was definitely someone who would not come without a reason. It was definitely not a good thing for him to come personally. Tell me, what's the matter? On the throne, Gu Fei smiled faintly at the old tortoise, who was crossing his legs and eating a spiritual fruit. That spiritual fruit was a type of scarlet blood spiritual fruit. It could strengthen the physique of living beings and make their qi and blood extremely vigorous. Yet, the Iron Blood Taoist used this rare spiritual fruit to entertain the old tortoise. There were many spiritual herbs planted in the medicinal fields of Wanxiang City. The scarlet blood spiritual fruit was one of them. Of course, it was also one of the rarer ones. What's the matter? Can't I come to visit my brother? The old tortoise curled his lips and said with a ruffian face. Haha, I'm naturally very happy that you came to visit me, Gu Fei said with a smile. Are the yin-yang fruits in the medicinal fields ripe? Go and pick some for my brother to taste, Gu Fei said to the Iron Blood Taoist who was standing below the throne. Master, the 9 yin-yang fruit trees have all borne fruits. However, there are only 3 to 5 ripe yin-yang fruits. I'll go and pick them now, the Iron Blood Taoist said and left the hall. You actually have yin-yang fruits here? The old tortoise said in surprise. One must know that the yin-yang fruit was a type of immortal medicine born from the yin and yang qi. A yin-yang fruit would condense a powerful yin and yang essence. It was naturally a great supplement for cultivators, especially those who cultivated the great Tao of yin and yang, as it could improve their cultivation. Of course, even cultivators who cultivated other grand Taos could eat this spirit fruit to refine the yin and yang essence, and it would naturally have the effect of improving their cultivation. However, the effect would not be as obvious as that of cultivators who cultivated the grand Tao of yin and yang. Haha, I don't lack spiritual herbs or spiritual fruits here. Gu Fei smiled. There were several divine springs of life in his inner world. Each divine spring of life contained an endless amount of life essence. The purest life essence was most suitable for the growth of spirit herbs. Countless spirit herbs grew around each divine spring of life. There were even legendary divine herbs and immortal herbs. Even immortal divine herbs could be seen. It could be said that in this world, only extreme sovereign existences could compare to Gu Fei in terms of the number of elixirs they possessed. That's true. That piece of godly land that you possess is something that I'm extremely envious of as well. Old Tortoise sighed. He had to admit that Gu Fei's luck was really heaven-defying. All the treasures in the world seemed to have gathered in his hands. Very soon, the iron-blood Taoist entered the hall with a jade plate in his hand. There were 5 fist-sized, crystal-clear spiritual fruits on the plate. Yin and Yang Qi lingered above the spiritual fruits. It was an extremely pure yin and yang essence. The moment the iron-blood Taoist entered the hall was filled with yin and yang qi. The source of the yin and yang qi was the 5 yin-yang fruits. These yin-yang fruits looked delicious. Old Tortoise stretched out his right hand. One of the yin-yang fruits on the jade plate in the iron-blood Taoist's hand immediately flew into his hand. He took a bite. The flesh of the yin-yang fruit turned into a warm current that flowed directly from Old Tortoise's throat to his esophagus. Then, it flowed from his esophagus to his stomach. Old Tortoise only felt a mass of warm air spreading from his abdomen, and soon spread all over his body. He felt warm all over and extremely comfortable. The yin and yang essence melted in his abdomen, and was directly refined by him. He then integrated it into his own essence. Old Tortoise walked the Tai Huang path. But it was different from the Tai Huang path because the Tai Huang had once instructed him that it might be difficult for him to take the ultimate leap and become a supreme being. The path taken by the predecessors might not necessarily be suitable for Old Tortoise, and could only play a supporting role. Old Tortoise needed to walk his own path. Ha! This yin-yang fruit really lives up to its reputation. Old Tortoise laughed, and ate the yin-yang fruit in his hand in a few bites. He even swallowed the seeds together with the flesh. One more. After saying that, Old Tortoise grabbed a yin-yang fruit and ate it. After eating 2 yin-yang fruits, Old Tortoise rubbed his stomach in satisfaction. This kind of spiritual fruit had been used many times. The effect was the best when eaten the first time, and the effect of the second yin-yang fruit was much weaker. To some extent, this kind of rare spiritual fruit might only grow one in a spiritual land. However, in Gu Fei's inner world, this uniqueness was broken. Spiritual herbs could gather the spiritual energy of the world. If there was enough spiritual energy, many spiritual herbs could naturally grow. If there was not enough spiritual energy in the area, it would be very difficult to grow a single spiritual herb. Old Tortoise ate 4 yin-yang fruits in a row before wiping the juice from the corner of his mouth, and stopped. Iron-blood Taoist was shocked as he watched from the side. One must know that this was the yin-yang fruit, not those spiritual herbs that could be easily found. The yin-yang essence Qi contained in a single yin-yang fruit was enough for a quasi-sage to refine for a month without being able to finish. Even a sage would need a few days to refine the yin-yang essence contained in the yin-yang fruit. Even the iron-blood Taoist, with his Saint Emperor realm cultivation, could only eat 2 yin-yang fruits at most. It was not that easy to refine the yin-yang essence into other essences. This was the first time the iron-blood Taoist had seen someone eat 4 yin-yang fruits in a row like the Old Tortoise. Of course, spiritual herbs were nothing to Gu Fei. In his inner world, there was a large patch of yin-yang trees. He only transplanted 9 of them into the herb farm in Wanxiang City. Old Tortoise, just say it. What's the matter? Don't pretend in front of me. It's meaningless, understand? Gu Fei said. He knew that the Old Tortoise definitely had something to do. Otherwise, he would not have come to Wanxiang City. Sigh, you brat. The Old Tortoise sighed and shook his head. Actually, I want you to protect me. What? You're going through the tribulation? Gu Fei was both surprised and overjoyed. The old tortoise was finally going to take that step. The old tortoise nodded. All right, when? Gu Fei nodded. The old tortoise wanted him to protect him, so he naturally would not refuse. After all, the old tortoise helped a lot when he was going through the quasi-supreme heavenly tribulation. 3 days later, the deserted world. The old tortoise said. What? You're going to the deserted world for the tribulation? Chapter 30:27. The old tortoise was about to undergo the heavenly tribulation of a quasi-supreme. Although Gu Fei already knew that the old tortoise was about to take that step, he did not expect the day to come so soon. In the main hall of Wenxian City, Gu Fei was surprised to hear that the old tortoise was going to the deserted world to undergo the heavenly tribulation. Why would the old tortoise want to go there? The deserted world was a vast world that had yet to see the emergence of a supreme being. The current deserted world was like the ancient times of the human realm. Experts emerged in large numbers, and the entire world of cultivation was thriving. This was a great era where countless experts emerged and many quasi-supreme existences were born. All signs in the deserted world indicated that this vast world might have its first supreme of the extreme path. Was the old tortoise going to undergo the heavenly tribulation to break through to the supreme realm and become the first invincible supreme to be born in the deserted world? You want to? Gu Fei could not help but be moved at the thought. Haha, this time, I must beat you. The old tortoise laughed. He was very confident. After all, it was definitely easier to break through to the supreme realm in the deserted world than in the heaven realm. Of course, there was another perfect world that they did not know about, the so-called otherworldly realm. The otherworldly realm was Ming Qiong's hometown. No one knew where Ming Qiong had taken the black-scaled tiger emperor to. Perhaps they had already found a way to return to the otherworldly realm. You're just playing tricks. Gu Fei shook his head. You're too pedantic. As long as I can become a supreme of the extreme path, I'm willing to try anything. The old tortoise suddenly looked at Gu Fei with a serious expression. Hearing the old tortoise's words, Gu Fei could not help but feel moved. All right, I have to go back and make some preparations. When the time comes, meet me in the heaven realm and then we'll go to the deserted world together. I don't want too many people to know about this. The old tortoise stood up as he spoke. Gu Fei also stood up when he heard the old tortoise's words. Brother, don't send me off. As old tortoise spoke, his figure suddenly disappeared into the void. Even the iron-blood Taoist, who was accompanying him, did not see how he left. This guy. Gu Fei shook his head and sat down again. Old tortoise was about to take that step, which was a good thing for him. After all, the more powerful old tortoise was, the more powerful his help would be. Master, can you take me with you? The iron-blood Taoist was tempted. It would be strange if he wasn't tempted. One had to know that this was the heavenly tribulation of a quasi-supreme being. If he could go and experience it, it would naturally be a great thing for him. You have to go and take a look. Gu Fei glanced at the iron-blood Taoist and saw him looking at him nervously. This guy was only in the Saint Emperor realm, not even a great sage. Even if he went to see the old tortoise's tribulation, it seemed difficult for him to see anything. If one's cultivation was not high enough, it was like looking at flowers in a fog. All right. Gu Fei nodded. This iron-blood Taoist had followed him for a long time and was loyal to him. Gu Fei could not bear to reject him. At times, Gu Fei felt that his heart wasn't hard enough. However, there was nothing he could do about it. He couldn't be heartless. If he were to be heartless, he wouldn't be human. Humans have 7 emotions and 6 desires. This is human nature. Thank you, Master. The moment the iron-blood Taoist saw that Gu Fei had agreed to it, he was elated. Don't spread the news of the old tortoise's tribulation. Just the 2 of us will know. Gu Fei said. Yes, Master. The iron-blood Taoist replied hurriedly. All right, you can leave now. Let me have some peace. Gu Fei waved his hand. Yes. The iron-blood Taoist retreated hurriedly. Haha. After the iron-blood Taoist left the main hall, he could not help but burst out laughing at the thought of being able to watch the old tortoise's tribulation with his master. This was something that most saint emperors would not even dare to imagine. Without the protection of other powerful beings, most saint emperors would not even dare to watch the quasi-supreme heavenly tribulation. One had to know that the might of the quasi-supreme heavenly tribulation was enough to cause the souls of saint emperors to dissipate. "Oi, why are you so happy? Did the master give you some treasure?" Outside the main hall, a young man in white robes walked up from the bottom of the stairs. This young man's face was like jade, and he was exceptionally handsome. Furthermore, the immortal Tao aura around him was boundless, as though he was a true immortal that had descended from the 9 heavens. This young man was the third of the 3 great immortal servants that Gu Fei had subdued. Each of the 3 great immortal servants had a cultivation state of a holy lord. However, if they were to fuse together and turn into an immortal body, they would be able to exhibit the fighting strength of a quasi-supreme being. Gu Fei was the only one who could subdue an existence as such. The moment the Iron Blood Taoist saw that it was an immortal servant, he could not help but feel his heart skip a beat. One had to know that this fellow was a holy lord. In front of them, he was as weak as an ant. At this moment, the third immortal servant had already arrived before the Iron Blood Taoist. "This doesn't seem to have anything to do with you," said the Iron Blood Taoist. He was very calm because he knew that even though this immortal servant's cultivation was higher than his, the Iron Blood Taoist definitely wouldn't dare to do anything to him. The immortal servant's expression changed and was about to erupt in anger. One had to know that this guy was nothing more than an ant before him. In the past, the Iron Blood Taoist could slap this guy to death with a single slap. "Third brother, what are you doing?" At this time, a voice came from the distance. Afterward, a figure walked out of the void and arrived next to the Iron Blood Taoist. "Big brother, it's nothing. I was just chatting with brother Iron Blood," the third immortal servant hurriedly said. "Humph, let's go. I have something to discuss with you." The eldest immortal servant stepped forward and pulled the youngest immortal servant up. Then, they instantly disappeared into the void without a trace. This guy. At this moment, a fine layer of cold sweat appeared on the Iron Blood Taoist's forehead. This guy actually wanted to kill him. He actually wanted to kill him. The Iron Blood Taoist truly didn't expect that this guy would really want to kill him. One had to know that the Lord was in the hall. Even if this guy wanted to kill him, he wouldn't be able to. If this guy dared to attack him, then he would definitely be the one to die. The Iron Blood Taoist thought about it and turned to leave. As long as the Lord was here, these guys wouldn't dare to touch him no matter how strong they were. "Third brother, you're too muddle-headed. How dare you want to kill that ant?" In the residence of the 3 immortal brothers, the entire courtyard was enveloped by an immortal formation. No one could hear or see anything. "Big brother, that ant," the third immortal servant tried to explain. "Shut up! Do you know how dangerous it was just now? You're simply courting death." His body and soul were almost destroyed. At the crucial moment, he had refined the peach of immortality to save his life. One had to admit that even Gu Fei had misjudged Bone Sovereign this time. The potential of Bone Sovereign was indeed huge. Such an expert with endless potential was definitely worth cultivating. The Underworld Emperor was destined to walk the path of immortality. On the other hand, the Bone Sovereign and Corpse Sovereign were reborn. Their flesh and blood were reborn. Their undead bodies were brimming with endless vitality. The creation of the heavens and earth was magical. In the midst of death, there would be a little bit of vitality. The immortal transformation lake had infinitely magnified the vitality in the Bone Sovereign and Corpse Sovereign's bodies. The Bone Sovereign and Corpse Sovereign were undergoing their tribulations at the same time. The saint-level heavenly tribulation was definitely much stronger than when they were alone. This was also a kind of test. One should know that the stronger their tribulations were, the stronger they would be compared to ordinary saint-level experts after they succeeded. This was relative. Of course, the premise was that they could survive the bombardment of the tribulations. While the Bone Sovereign and Corpse Sovereign were undergoing their tribulations, Gu Fei's true body had also started to head towards the heavenly world. The time he had agreed with the old tortoise had arrived. He brought the Iron Blood Taoist and the 3 immortal Tao brothers with him, and headed towards the eastern domain's heavenly ruins. Soon, the group arrived at the heavenly world. The old tortoise's people were already waiting at the exit of the heavenly path. The one who came was actually a true dragon, a saint sovereign level existence. It was a young man with a slender figure. His face was as clear as jade. His white robes fluttered in the wind. He was an incomparably handsome young master. If it wasn't for the pair of ancestral dragon horns on his head, no one would be able to tell that he was a true dragon. This was a junior of the old tortoise, named Sang Yuan. "Where's Xiaoqing?" Gu Fei asked. He rode on the dragon-horned Qilin beast and had a true fire Qilin by his side. There were also those 3 great immortal Tao living beings following him. This sort of extravagance was comparable to a true heavenly emperor moving out. "Senior brother Xiaoqing is in seclusion. I'm afraid it will be difficult for Uncle Master to see him," said Sang Yuan. "He's in seclusion. Could it be that he has taken that step?" Hearing this, Gu Fei couldn't help but be startled. Xiaoqing was a great saint of the demon race. If his cultivation broke through another level, he would be a saint sovereign. Although this Sang Yuan was a true dragon saint sovereign, in terms of seniority, he could only be Xiaoqing's junior brother. Gu Fei was his uncle master. "I'm not too sure about this." "After you see Uncle, you can ask him yourself," said Sang Yuan. His position in the demon race of the heaven world was not low. He was a junior of the old tortoise, the son of one of the old tortoise's brothers. In terms of bloodline, the Tai Huang was the first generation of the dragon race, the ancestor of the dragon race. The old tortoise was the second generation, so he could only be called the ancestral dragon. Sang Yuan was the third generation. The Tai Huang bloodline in Sang Yuan's body was very pure. "All right, we'll talk about it when we see the old tortoise." Gu Fei nodded. Thus, Sang Yuan led the way and everyone left the exit of the ancient road to heaven. They soared into the sky and flew towards a divine island. "Who is that person?" Lord Sang Yuan actually came to greet him personally. "He seems to have a great background." "Damn, you're new here. You don't even know him?" "He's Gu Fei." "What? He's Gu Fei?" The demon race's experts who were guarding the ancient road to heaven were shocked. Gu Fei's name was well known to them. They didn't expect that they would be able to see Gu Fei in person. While the demon race's experts were discussing Gu Fei, Sang Yuan had already brought Gu Fei's group to the divine island in the sky. The entire island was the old tortoise's palace. Not everyone could do this. In the current heavenly realm, how many people could refine an entire divine island into a palace? "Little Dao friend, you're here." Just as Sang Yuan, Gu Fei, and the others arrived in front of a palace, a white-haired old man suddenly walked out of the palace. This old man was the demon race's old ancestor. "Old ancestor." Sang Yuan quickly greeted the old man. "Greetings, old ancestor." Gu Fei did not dare to be negligent in front of the demon race's old ancestor. "No need to be so polite. The little tortoise is waiting for you inside. Go." Chapter 30-29. The old tortoise was about to undergo the quasi-supreme heavenly tribulation, which was definitely a big deal for the entire heaven realm's monster race. At this moment, all the monster race experts had gathered on the old tortoise's divine island. The divine island was definitely a fairyland. The entire island was surrounded by spiritual light, and the chi of the great Tao was vast and mighty. There were waterfalls, springs, mountains, and pavilions on the island. It was a picturesque scene. Among the pavilions dotting the mountain ridges, many of them were surging with chi of blood. The powerful aura caused all sorts of strange phenomena in the sky. This was the aura emitted by extremely powerful creatures, which could affect the changes in the world. Of course, this wasn't something ordinary people could see with their naked eyes. Only existences above the saint level could see all sorts of phenomena with their Tao eyes. Wow, so many experts have come. The three spirits that followed Gu Fei to the Divine Island did not enter the main hall. Instead, they waited outside for orders. The dragon horn Qilin also stayed outside. Only the fire Qilin Balon and the iron blood Taoist were qualified to follow Gu Fei into the main hall to meet the monster lord. At this moment, the three spirits were stunned by the scene in front of them. Countless powerful auras rushed out from the mountains and took form in the sky. Countless powerful beasts appeared in the sky above the mountains. There were ferocious beasts in the shape of Qilins, as well as huge dragons with astonishing dragon chi. There were golden phoenixes flapping their wings, as well as three-legged golden birds that looked like godly suns. These were the hidden experts of the monster race, but at this moment, they had all gathered on the old tortoise's divine island. So many ancient gods! This heaven realm actually has so many experts. The three spirits were shocked. They knew that these were only the experts of the monster race in the heaven realm. Compared to the entire heaven realm, these experts were only a small portion. How is this possible? The third of the three spirits had always been arrogant and unyielding. He had never submitted to anyone, but now, he could not help but be stunned by this scene. Three bumpkins. How ignorant! The dragon horn Qilin lay on the ground and said disdainfully. What did you say? When the third of the three spirits heard this, a vicious look appeared in his eyes, and he stared at the dragon horn Qilin beast as if he was about to attack. Third bro, you should control your temper. The world is so big that nothing is too strange. We are just frogs at the bottom of a well. The leader of the three spirits sighed. They had been staying in the deserted world all this time and never knew that there were other realms besides the deserted world. This trip with Gu Fei had made them realize their own inadequacies. Initially, they thought that they were invincible in the world. But now, it seemed that they were too laughable. You just followed Master a little earlier than us. What are you being so arrogant for? The second of the three spirits said unhappily. They didn't dare to do anything to an ant like the dragon horn Qilin beast. I don't dare to be arrogant in front of you. I advise you to restrain yourselves. Otherwise, you'll be the ones to suffer. The dragon horn Qilin beast said indifferently. The third of the three spirits wanted to get angry, but on second thought, he couldn't help but shudder, so he stopped talking. They were now Gu Fei's servants, so they should act like servants. They were no longer the masters who could do whatever they wanted in the past. At this time, in the main hall, after Gu Fei and the old tortoise exchanged greetings, Gu Fei directly asked about Xiaoqing. Haha, you don't have to worry. Xiaoqing may be able to take that crucial step this time. I'm very optimistic about him. The old tortoise laughed, and said. His disciple, Xiaoqing, really made him proud. In just a few years, Xiaoqing was already a great saint, and now he was about to take that step and become a holy lord. Once Xiaoqing succeeded, his position in the demon race would be more stable, which was also a good thing for the old tortoise. With you looking after Xiaoqing, I'm naturally very relieved. Gu Fei nodded and said. Well, I still need to make some preparations, then let's go. Sung Yuan, take your master uncle to have a rest. The old tortoise said. The quasi-supreme heavenly tribulation was not so easy to pass. Although he chose to undergo the tribulation in the deserted world, no one knew what would happen during the tribulation. Even the old tortoise had to be fully prepared. The old tortoise went to prepare. Sang Yuan took Gu Fei out of the main hall and then flew to a nearby mountain. There was a pavilion at the top of the mountain. The three spirits and the dragon horn Qilin beast, who were waiting outside the main hall, quickly followed. This mountain was a lot higher than the other mountains. Climbing this mountain made Gu Fei feel like he was standing at the top and looking down at all the other mountains. After taking Gu Fei here, Sang Yuan took his leave. This place is not bad. Gu Fei stood in front of the pavilion, looked around, then nodded and walked into the pavilion. Who is that person? How is he qualified to stay there? Two middle-aged men were standing on a mountain peak in the distance. They were looking at the tallest mountain peak and whispering to each other. I don't know who that person is, but someone who can stay there is definitely not simple, the thin middle-aged man said. Sung Yuan is here, we'll know if we asked him, the thin middle-aged man said. Sung Yuan is here, we'll know if we asked him, the other middle-aged man with a dark face said. A figure was flying past the mountain peak. Brother Sung Yuan, how about coming over? The slender middle-aged man waved at the figure that was passing by. Oh, it's Brother Tianping and Brother Black Tiger. The person who was passing by was Tseng Yuan. When he heard the call, he turned his head and saw two figures standing on the mountain peak. Tseng Yuan immediately changed his direction and flew towards the two monster clan experts, landing on the peak of the mountain. Brother Tseng Yuan, who is that person? How can he stay there? The dark-faced middle-aged man pointed at the mountain peak in the distance and said, That person. Tseng Yuan glanced at the two and revealed a strange smile. You two don't know him? How is that possible? Tseng Yuan was in disbelief. We've only been born recently, so we naturally don't know much about the people of the present age. Old Ancestor Tianping said. That's right, we really don't know much about the outstanding figures of the present age. Old Ancestor Black Tiger nodded. Haha, even though you've only been born recently, you've definitely heard of his name. Tseng Yuan glanced at the two and said with a smile. Really, who is it? Tell us. Gu Fei is here as well. Looks like the Sacred Master has invited quite a number of experts to help out. Old Ancestor He Hu said. He only knew that the old tortoise was about to undergo his heavenly tribulation. He didn't receive any news before this. The old tortoise was really good at keeping things a secret. In fact, the old tortoise had many enemies in the heaven realm. Among them, the strongest was the descendants of the heavenly demon clan. The descendants of the heavenly demon clan would never give up. If the experts of the heavenly demon clan knew that the old tortoise was about to undergo his heavenly tribulation, they would definitely take action. That was why the old tortoise only told everyone at the last moment that he was about to undergo his heavenly tribulation. All the experts of the demon clan who knew that the old tortoise was about to undergo his heavenly tribulation were still on the divine island. They could only leave after the old tortoise passed the quasi-sovereign heavenly tribulation. Old Ancestor Tianping and Old Ancestor He Hu returned to the Immortal Pavilion. Although they couldn't afford to stay in the number 1 Immortal Pavilion, they were qualified to stay in the number 19 Immortal Pavilion. There were 365 mountains on the old tortoise's divine island. There was an Immortal Pavilion on each of the mountains, which was the number of heavenly cycles. In fact, during the era of the Tai Huang had 365 generals under his command. This divine island was actually something that the Tai Huang left for the old tortoise. Of course, most of the 365 generals had already passed away. Perhaps some were still alive, but not many. One should know that back then, the 365 generals had followed the Tai Huang to battle all over the world. Back then, many of them had died in battle. Those who were still alive were definitely super ancient existences. There were a few extremely powerful auras on the divine island. No one knew who those experts were. It was very mysterious. Even some of the higher-ups of the demon clan in the heaven realm didn't know who those mysterious experts were. Of course, some of the higher-ups of the demon clan had guessed something. At this time, Gu Fei was sitting cross-legged in the number 1 Immortal Pavilion. He found that the entire pavilion was a spirit-gathering formation. A huge amount of spiritual energy was gathered inside. Of course, this level of spiritual energy was nothing to Gu Fei. If he wanted to absorb the spiritual energy in the celestial pavilion, he would be able to absorb all the spiritual energy gathered in the celestial pavilion in a few breaths. The three spirits, the Iron Blood Taoist, and the others who had followed Gu Fei to the number 1 Immortal Pavilion were shocked by the atmosphere of the pavilion. The heaven and earth spiritual chi in this place was so dense that it almost materialized. In such a place, one could constantly absorb and refine the heaven and earth spiritual chi for their own use. Although the spiritual energy gathered in the number 1 Immortal Pavilion was useless to Gu Fei, it was different for the three spirits, the Iron Blood Taoist, the Dragon Horn Qilin, and the Fire Qilin. Even paragon existences could achieve twice the results with half the effort when cultivating in the number 1 immortal pavilion. One should know that the 365 pavilions were the residences that Tai Huang had prepared for his 365 generals. The era of the 365 generals had passed countless years ago. The Tai Huang's 365 generals had become legends. However, the 365 pavilions on the Divine Island were left behind. These pavilions had witnessed the glorious era. The Dragon-Horn Qilin and the Fire Qilin naturally wouldn't miss such an opportunity. They sat on the ground and began cultivating. The three spirits were shocked and also sat down. This was because the number 1 immortal pavilion was shrouded in the aura of the Great Path. Sensing this aura of the Great Path allowed the three spirits to see another world. This was a completely different method of cultivation from the desolate world. This also gave the three spirits hope. The three spirits had been stuck in the Paragon realm for countless years. Although they had a secret method that could increase their battle strength to that of a paragon, they had never been able to make a breakthrough in their own cultivation. At this time, some experts of the demon clan came. Under Tseng Yuan's lead, they entered the area where the immortal pavilions were located. The 365 immortal pavilions couldn't be fully occupied because there weren't that many experts of the demon clan in the entire heaven realm. Not all of them were qualified to stay in the immortal pavilions. In this way, a day passed quickly. When night fell, almost no experts of the demon clan came. Early the next morning, Gu Fei was invited by the old tortoise. In the main hall, there were many experts of the demon race gathered. These experts had at least the cultivation of the great saint realm. There were 5 or 6 great demons and even holy venerables. This surprised Gu Fei. It seemed that the old tortoise's strength was not ordinary. No wonder he could carve out such a large territory in the heaven realm. Sitting on the throne in the middle of the main hall was the old turtle. "Brother, you're here. Come and sit next to me." On the throne, the old turtle saw Gu Fei and called Gu Fei over. At this time, all the experts of the demon clan in the main hall looked at Gu Fei. Among these experts, some were dissatisfied, some were shocked, and some were stunned. There seemed to be only one person in the world who could call the old turtle brother. That person was Gu Fei. Gu Fei smiled and did not say anything. He walked directly to the old turtle, ascended the throne, and sat directly next to the old turtle. He simply ignored the envious and hateful gazes of the experts of the demon clan below. Yes, envious and hateful. At this time, all the experts of the demon clan in the main hall more or less had this kind of emotion. Gu Fei. All the experts of the demon clan looked at Gu Fei sitting next to the old turtle. Every expert of the demon clan had a different mood. Among these experts of the demon clan, some had more or less grudges with Gu Fei. For example, the Golden Crow clan of the Heaven Realm. Although the Golden Crow clan of the Heaven Realm was a branch of the Fire clan, they were also members of the Demon clan. When Gu Fei was in the southern mountains of the Heaven Realm, he had friction with the Fire clan of the southern mountains. At this time, the Golden Crow ancestor stood in the main hall and looked at Gu Fei on the throne with a complicated expression. "All right, everyone's here. Let's go." The old turtle stood up from the throne and waved his sleeve. A rain of light instantly enveloped everyone in the main hall. In the next moment, everyone disappeared in the rain of light. Gu Fei was no exception. He realized that he had arrived in a void. There was no sky or earth here, only an endless void. He realized that the other experts of the demon clan in the main hall had also appeared in this void. Everyone was surprised, but they did not know what the old turtle was up to. At this time, the old turtle's figure also appeared in the void. He was holding something in his right hand. To be precise, it was an array board. "Everyone, please lend me a hand," said the old turtle. Old Tortoise said. Then, he took out the formation plate in his hand. The formation plate flew up from his hand and instantly became as big as a mountain. An incomparably powerful aura immediately spread out from the formation plate and filled the entire void. The experts of the great demon clan could not help but be shocked when they saw this scene. They saw that the array board that was as big as a mountain constantly had runes appearing on it, and it actually emitted the aura of countless great paths. What is the old turtle doing? Gu Fei was somewhat puzzled. Could this be the legendary Myriad Paths plate? An old member of the demon clan suddenly said in shock. What? The Myriad Paths plate? The Myriad Paths plate that can smelt all great paths? Chapter 30-31. The Myriad Tao plate was a legendary supreme Tao treasure that could refine the myriad Taos of heaven and earth. It could be said that its power wasn't below that of the mountain and river cauldron or the Taiwan seal. This was because the supreme existence that refined the Myriad Tao plate was known as the sovereign of myriad Taos. He was a supreme even older than the Taiwan seal, and his time could be traced back to the primordial era, before the era of legends. Unspecified currency. Is that really the Myriad Tao plate? In the empty void, Gu Fei stared at the giant plate floating in the air and listened to the mutterings of the demonic elders around him. He couldn't help but feel indescribably shocked. He'd heard of the Myriad Tao plate, but he'd always thought that the sovereign of myriad Taos was just a legend. Perhaps there hadn't been such a person during the primordial era. One had to know that the sovereign of myriad Taos was an extremely powerful existence. Everyone, lend me a bit of your power. I'll owe you all a favor. How about that? As the demonic elders pointed at the plate, the old turtle's silhouette appeared on top of it. At this time, the group of demon race experts also knew why the old turtle brought them here. The old turtle wanted to borrow their strength to fight against the quasi-supreme heavenly tribulation. It seemed that the old turtle had thought of everything that could happen. Gu Fei also understood very well that the old tortoise was preparing for the worst. All the great demons present were at least great sage great demons. If each great demon lent out a portion of their power and gathered it together, it would be a power so powerful that even a holy venerate would be fearful. Old brother, you should have said so earlier if you wanted to borrow power. Gu Fei immediately rushed forward and fired a strand of essence qi at the huge formation board. This was the essence qi of a quasi-sovereign. After the essence qi was absorbed by the formation board, 9 powerful Tao patterns immediately appeared on the formation board under the old tortoise's feet. The quasi-supreme being's essence qi that was absorbed by the array disk was stored in the 9 Tao patterns. This was Gu Fei's power of the great Tao, a quasi-supreme power. Once it was unleashed, it would be equivalent to Gu Fei's all-out attack. There weren't many existences in the world that could block his all-out attack. Thank you, brother, the old turtle said happily. It was still this brother of his who was loyal. Look at these so-called old monsters of the demon race. They were all hesitating and not straightforward at all. Under Gu Fei's lead, the demon folk old-timers stepped forward one after another, sent streams of essence energy into the formation plate, and then retreated to the side. Dozens of demon folk old-timers poured their own quintessence energy into the formation disk, which pleased the old turtle very much. Thank you, everyone, for your help. I cannot thank you enough, Old Tortoise said. At this time, the matrix plate under his feet was filled with dozens of auras of the Great Path. After absorbing so much spiritual essence, the entire matrix plate had become somewhat different. Although there were only a few dozen strands of Great Path essence qi on the formation plate, it was as if there were tens of thousands of auras intertwining, as if the power of tens of thousands of great paths was constantly smelting together. All right, it's time for us to set off. As Old Tortoise spoke, the array board under his feet rapidly shrank. Then, it flew up and landed in his hand. With a wave of his sleeve, everyone felt the world spin around them. In the next moment, they found themselves once again in the main hall. Rumble. The entire divine island began to shake. Then, rays of demonic light soared into the sky, enveloping the entire island. The entire island soared into the sky, turning into a ball of demonic light that directly rushed into the depths of the starry sky. At this time, all the cultivators in the West Nether Sea felt a mighty energy fluctuation from high up in the sky. The divine island has left? The demon folk guarding the exit of the ancient road to heaven were indescribably shocked. The sudden departure of the divine island made them feel a trace of nervousness. One should know that the old turtle and the demonic ancestor on the divine island were their greatest support. With them around, no other forces would dare to act rashly. However, once the divine island left, they would lose their greatest support. This was definitely not a good thing for them, who were guarding the exit of the ancient road to heaven. What's going on? Why did the ancestor and the others leave? Outside the exit of the ancient road to heaven, a demon folk expert stared dumbfoundedly at the demonic light that disappeared into the depths of the starry sky. How would I know? A greater demon folk standing next to him said in an annoyed tone. I hope they only left for a while. Another demon folk expert mumbled to himself. They were guarding the exit of the ancient road to heaven, and they even collected tolls from the cultivators entering and exiting the heaven realm. Such actions could be said to have angered all the cultivators. However, the demon folk of the heaven realm were incomparably powerful, and they had the ancestor of the demon folk guarding the west nether sea. All the cultivators that entered and exited the heaven realm dared not say anything. However, now that the divine island of the demon folk had left, no one knew what would happen next. All these years, the toll collected by the demon folk was definitely an astronomical figure. This made all the forces in the heaven realm and human realm extremely jealous. However, none of the forces dared to do anything to the demon folk of the heaven realm. However, as the divine island of the demon folk left, the attitudes of the forces in the heaven realm and human realm changed slightly. Rumble. At this moment, deep in the starry sky, a ball of demonic light wrapped around the divine island. It arrived before the ancient heavenly court's ruins and stopped outside the southern heavenly gate. Following the arrival of the divine island, countless cultivators were alarmed. One should know that there were countless cultivators stationed outside the southern heavenly gate. That's... An antique expert rushed out from the camp. He couldn't help but change his expression when he saw the divine island shrouded in the demonic light of the great Tao. Why are they here? The antique expert murmured to himself. Soon enough, many powerful figures appeared in the sky. All of them carefully stared at the divine island shrouded in the demonic light of the great Tao. The forces stationed outside the southern heavenly gate were very uneasy about the arrival of the divine island. One should know that the divine island was no ordinary divine island. It was the old tortoise's palace. The divine island's appearance here meant that the old tortoise was here as well. Most importantly, the old tortoise had an extremely powerful senior. That existence was definitely the ancestor of the demon folk. He was of the same generation as the Taiwan and had an irreplaceable supreme status in the demon folk. There was no doubt that the ancestor of the demon folk was powerful. Are they going to enter the ruins of the ancient heavenly court? An antique expert murmured to himself. At this moment, the divine island shrouded in the demonic light of the great Tao moved again. It directly charged towards the southern heavenly gate. Chapter 30-32. Rumble. In the dim ruins of the ancient celestial court, a beam of demonic light cut through the void and rushed toward the depths of the ruins. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared into the horizon. That's... Wherever the demonic light passed, it alarmed all the cultivators along the way. On top of a barren mountain stood a white-robed young man. He looked at the demonic light that flew across the sky with a complicated expression. He actually entered the ruins. Is he trying to pass the heavenly tribulation in these ruins? The white-robed youth looked in the direction where the demonic light had disappeared, and there was a glint in the depths of his eyes. After that, he took out a jade talisman from his body and crushed it. Crack! The moment the jade talisman in the white-robed young man's hand broke, 5 beams of fire immediately rushed out of his hand and disappeared into the void. Roar! Soon, in an uninhabited area of the heaven realm, an earth-shattering roar came from a valley filled with murderous aura. The entire void shook. An extremely powerful figure walked out of the valley. At the same time, in another uninhabited area, there was also an extremely powerful fluctuation of power. A ferocious beast that looked like a dragon but was not a dragon rushed out of a bottomless ravine. Its powerful murderous aura filled the world. WW not less than W. The son of Saint is summoning. Could it be that it's time to fight the Taihuang bloodline? The dragon-like beast muttered to itself. Then, it rushed into the sky and into the starry sky. As the beasts rushed into the starry sky, 3 terrifying figures that were so powerful that they made the world tremble also rushed out from other uninhabited areas of the heaven realm. The 5 supreme existences entered the starry sky at almost the same time, and rushed toward the ruins of the ancient celestial court in the depths of the starry sky. At this time, the divine island controlled by the old turtle arrived at the center of the ruins. There was a vast chaotic chi there, and a towering mountain appeared in front of them. The mountain was huge. Even though the upper half of it had been broken, the mountain was still extremely huge. Endless chaotic chi lingered on the mountain. An incomparably powerful aura spread out from the top of the mountain, as if a supreme existence was hiding in the mountain. The divine island that was shrouded in the demonic light of the great path stopped. At this time, from the 365 immortal pavilions on the divine island, more and more experts of the demon clan rushed out into the sky. This is the Chaos God Mountain? Great Ancestor Tianping stared at the incomparably huge black mountain in front of him. Although it was separated by a layer of demonic light of the great Tao, he could still sense an immense pressure. The legendary #1 divine mountain of all time? Many demon clan experts looked at the mountain in front of them in shock. The ancient heavenly court is indeed a great work. With the divine mountain as the center, they built such a huge heavenly court. It should be flourishing for tens of thousands of years, but why? Ancestor Black Tiger said. With the primordial sacred mountain guarding the ancient heavenly court shouldn't have declined so easily. However, things were unexpected. The era of the ancient heavenly court didn't last long before the entire ancient heavenly court completely declined. At that moment, Old Tortoise and Gu Fei also appeared in the sky. Rumble! The divine island that had stopped in the void began to move. It shot into the sky and rushed towards the divine mountain. The entire divine island was huge, but it was nothing in front of the divine mountain. Soon, the divine island rushed into the void of chaos above the chaotic divine mountain. In the depths of the void of chaos, a ball of divine light floated in the chaotic chi. Above the ball of light, there were illusory images of all things in the world. It was the reflection of the world. Under Old Tortoise's control, the divine island rushed directly in front of the ball of light and stopped. Compared to the ball of light, the divine island was too big. It's time for you to perform, Gu Fei said to Old Tortoise. Old Tortoise smiled and rushed out of the divine island. He stretched out his hand and the entire divine island immediately shrunk and fell into his hand. The people on the divine island became as small as dust particles. Old Tortoise laughed, then took a step forward and walked into the light ball. At that moment, in the chaotic chi near the ball of light, a powerful figure appeared. It's him? What is he doing? Powerful beings in the chaotic chi recognized Old Tortoise, but no one dared to stop him from entering the ball of light. They let him cross over. Offending Old Tortoise was the most unwise thing to do, and no one was willing to offend him. Soon, the news of Old Tortoise entering the deserted world spread. It was not a secret. In fact, Old Tortoise acted so mysteriously in order to not let people know that he was about to undergo the divine tribulation. However, he also knew that his enemies must have known of his whereabouts. This was why Old Tortoise asked Gu Fei to protect him. After all, Gu Fei was now a quasi-supreme. Without a true supreme, who could be a match for Gu Fei? Moreover, Gu Fei had more than one supreme weapon of the way. With Gu Fei protecting him, Old Tortoise felt more at ease. That guy is definitely going to undergo the divine tribulation. When the news reached the Buddhist kingdom of the West in the human world, monk Heavenly Dharma felt helpless. If Old Tortoise also succeeded, then his situation would be even more worrying. At the peak of Spirit Mountain, a little monk sat cross-legged on a boulder with an alms bowl in his hand. Buddhist light radiated from him, and the image of a Buddha loomed over him. The air seemed to be filled with Sanskrit chants and Buddhist aura. This little monk was Fan Shio. His cultivation had reached a point where he was about to make a breakthrough. He needed to find a place to undergo the divine tribulation. It was possible to undergo the divine tribulation in the human world, but the heavenly Tao in the human world was flawed. Undergoing the divine tribulation there would cause flaws in one's great Tao. This was why Fan Xiu didn't want to undergo the divine tribulation in the human world. No one wanted their great Tao to be flawed. Thus, undergoing the divine tribulation in the heavenly realm or the deserted world became the first choice for the old antiques. However, not everyone could successfully undergo the divine tribulation of a quasi-supreme. Looks like I'll have to go to the deserted world too. Fan Xiu suddenly opened his eyes and muttered to himself. The deserted world was also a perfect world. Undergoing the divine tribulation there wouldn't cause a flaw in one's great Tao. You want to go to the deserted world? At this moment, a figure walked over from the distance. It was Heavenly Dharma wearing the sloppy kasaya. Humph! When little monk Fan Xiu saw Heavenly Monk Fa Tian, he couldn't help but snort coldly. His originally gentle gaze immediately became sharp. Back when Gu Fei was undergoing the divine tribulation, this guy had abandoned him and fled on his own. How hateful! Chapter 30-33. The relationship between the two giants of the West Earth Buddhism sect was not as good as it seemed to outsiders. Although little monk Fan Xiu and great monk Fa Tian were not like fire and water, there were still many open and secret conflicts between the two giants of the Buddhism sect. Little monk Fan Xiu's origin was very mysterious. He was a freak that old tortoise found when he was digging the tomb of the ancient Buddhist lord. As for Heavenly Monk Fa Tian, he was one of the experts from the Heavenly Buddha Tao. The Heavenly Buddha Tao was a Buddhist heaven created by a Buddhist lord since the ancient times, and Heavenly Monk Fa Tian was the leader of the Heavenly Buddha Tao's Buddhist princes. Heavenly Monk Fan Xiu also obtained an ancient Buddhist robe that was left behind by the ancient Buddhist lord. With this robe, even little monk Fan Xiu had to be weaker than Heavenly Monk Fan Xiu. Both little monk Fan Xiu and Heavenly Monk Fan Xiu were Orthodox Buddhists. At this time, the two giants of West Earth's Buddhism appeared at the peak of Spiritual Mountain at the same time, attracting the attention of all Buddhist experts. One should know that West Earth's Buddhism had been divided into two factions. One was Heavenly Buddha Path led by Heavenly Monk Fan Xiu, and the other was Western Earth Buddhism Path led by Little Monk Fan Xiu. Heavenly Buddha Path was originally above Buddhism in the human world. The Buddhist princes of Heavenly Buddha Path claimed to be the direct descendants of the ancient Buddhist lord. As a result, the Buddhist Vedanta in the human world were somewhat dissatisfied. Thus, they formed a faction with Little Monk Fan Xiu as the leader. The power of Buddhism in the human world wasn't small. Under Little Monk Fan Xiu were Buddhist Lord Qinglian and a group of Buddhist experts. However, behind Heavenly Monk Fan Xiu was a group of Buddhist experts from Heavenly Buddha Path. The forces between the two factions were evenly matched. Neither could do anything to the other. Why don't you go? At the peak of Spiritual Mountain, Little Monk Fan Xiu wanted to turn around and leave, but he suddenly stopped and turned to Heavenly Monk Fan Xiu, who was sitting cross-legged on a big rock. Heavenly Monk Fan Xiu didn't say anything. Instead, he closed his eyes as if he was meditating. Little Monk Fan Xiu smiled, and with a sway of his body, he instantly turned into a ray of Buddhist light that soared into the sky. He broke through the void and disappeared. Many Buddhist experts on Spiritual Mountain saw Fan Xiu leave, but no one knew where he was going. Not even Buddhist Lord Green Lotus knew where he was going. Buddhist Lord Qinglian was the current Buddhist lord of the West Earth Buddhist sect. His cultivation was undoubtedly powerful because he had fought against Gu Fei in the past. After so many years, Gu Fei had already become a quasi-supremacy. Although this Buddhist Lord Green Lotus couldn't compare to Gu Fei, his cultivation had already reached a realm that others couldn't reach. The foundation of Buddhism in the mortal world was incomparably deep. One must know that the Buddhism in the mortal world was the inheritance of the ancient Buddhist lord. Although Buddhist Lord Qinglian's current cultivation base was not as strong as Great Monk Fa Tian and Little Monk Fan Xiu, he was still the strongest existence in the Buddhist sect. Buddhist Lord Green Lotus suddenly opened his eyes in a Buddhist palace on the Spirited Mountain when little monk Fan Shio left the Spirited Mountain. Is Arhat Fan Shio really going to the heavenly realm? Buddhist Lord Qinglian muttered to himself. His body was surrounded by Buddhist light, and a wheel as bright as the sun appeared behind his head. Within the wheel, there were Buddhist runes intertwining, condensing an extremely powerful force of Buddhist way. This Buddhist Lord's cultivation had already reached the point where he was about to break through to the holy Venerable realm. Then, Buddhist Lord Green Lotus closed his eyes and sat cross-legged on the lotus seat like an ancient Buddha. Buddhist light bloomed from his body, and the lotus petals of the lotus seat began to close. In the end, Buddhist Lord Green Lotus was wrapped in a golden lotus. Just as little monk Fan Shio left the Spirited Mountain, a demonic roar that made everyone's heart palpitate came from a huge demonic cave in the depths of the northern demonic region. In the sky above the demonic cave, Yin-Yang Qi was vast. A Yin-Yang Dao diagram that covered half the sky suppressed the void. The terrifying power of the Yin-Yang Great Dao suppressed the demonic cave. In the middle of the Yin-Yang Dao diagram, a figure sat cross-legged. It was an unimaginably powerful figure. The endless power of the Yin-Yang Great Tao radiated from his body, shocking the heavens. This person seemed to have become a part of the Yin-Yang Great Tao. With his own strength, he suppressed the entire northern demonic region. Boom! At this moment, a powerful demonic power suddenly rushed out from the depths of the demonic cave and directly collided with the huge Yin-Yang Dao diagram. Rumble! The entire Dao diagram trembled. Endless Yin-Yang Dao runes appeared and interweaved on the Dao diagram. The power of the Yin-Yang Great Dao erupted and obliterated the demonic power. Roar! A terrifying demonic roar came from the depths of the demonic cave. Endless demonic qi surged out from the depths of the demonic cave. Within the demonic qi, there seemed to be a terrifying demonic shadow looming. However, all the demonic qi that surged out from the demonic cave was blocked by the Yin-Yang Dao diagram. It was sealed within the demonic cave, and not a single trace of demonic qi could leak out. The demonic qi was corroding the Yin-Yang Dao diagram. However, the Yin-Yang Dao qi that descended from the Yin-Yang Dao diagram was also obliterating the demonic qi. It's getting more and more restless. The figure sitting cross-legged on the Yin-Yang Dao diagram suddenly muttered to himself. An even more powerful Yin-Yang Great Dao Qi surged out from his body. Rumble! The Yin-Yang Dao diagram continued to tremble. The Yin-Yang Dao Qi descended, and the demonic Qi that surged out from the depths of the demonic cave was immediately suppressed. Very quickly, the demonic roar in the depths of the demonic cave disappeared, and the countless demons and devils in the demonic cave calmed down. Is a great calamity coming? The figure continued to mutter to himself. He suddenly raised his head and looked at the sky. His eyes were incomparably deep. The demons in the depths of the northern demonic cave were getting more and more restless. This made the ruthless person who was suppressing the demonic cave feel somewhat uneasy. This was not a good thing. If the demons in the demonic cave broke out of the seal, the entire human world would fall into chaos. The human world would usher in a demonic calamity, and once again enter the age of darkness. In the other forbidden areas of the soaring dragon ancestral star, there were also strange movements. In the abyss of immortals and devils that separated the northern demonic region from the northern domain of the soaring dragon ancestral star, there were shadows of immortals and devils roaring. It was as if the world of chaos was really coming. At this time, the experts of the major forces were trying their best to improve their cultivation and combat strength. On the soaring dragon ancestral star in the human world, there were constantly people undergoing tribulations. However, many experts chose to undergo tribulations in the heaven realm. The heaven realm was a perfect world with a flawless heavenly Tao. However, not everyone dared to undergo tribulations in the heaven realm because it was much more dangerous than in the human world. Some living beings admitted that they could not withstand the tribulations in the heaven realm, so they settled for the next best thing and chose to undergo tribulations in the human world. Of course, most of the experts of the major forces who could afford it chose to undergo tribulations in the desolate world. In the eyes of all the cultivators, the desolate world was the most ideal place to undergo tribulations. However, not everyone could enter the desolate world. Without the protection of a saint, who could enter the desolate world? Even a saint would have to take great risks to enter the desolate world. At this time, the old turtle had already entered the desolate world. He directly released the shrunken divine island in his hand, and a divine island appeared in the desolate domain of chaos. The desolate domain of chaos was the territory of the ruler of chaos. However, the ruler of chaos had long left, and there were only a few powerful chaotic creatures guarding this half of the divine mountain of chaos. These chaotic creatures were no match for the old tortoise. When the old tortoise appeared, these chaotic creatures had already hidden themselves. The old turtle had a foothold in the desolate world. It was a place of immortal essence where the essence of the 5 elements gathered. Naturally, this place of immortal essence was not without an owner. The old turtle had seized this place from a creature of the 5 elements that was born from the essence of the 5 elements. On that day, the old turtle fought with the owner of this place, the ruler of 5 elements. He displayed his might and broke the great sword formation of the 5 elements, scaring away the ruler of 5 elements. The old turtle stepped into the divine island and met up with Gu Fei. Then, he drove the divine island to his territory, the place of immortal essence of 5 elements. A beam of demonic light of the great path wrapped around the divine island and flew over the endless mountains of the desolate world, startling countless powerful creatures hidden in the mountains. That guy is here again. The old turtle's divine island flew over the area near the Tsangqiong city, but it startled Emperor Qin, who was in the city. Swoosh! A figure immediately appeared in the sky above the Tsangqiong city. The aura of the Supreme Emperor, that is. Emperor Qin stood in the void sky and looked in the direction where the demonic light of the great path disappeared. His eyes became profound. He had lived for countless years, but even he himself had forgotten how long he had lived. He had experienced the darkest times and fought against the terrifying great demon. He had almost died, but he still managed to survive. Emperor Qin thought about it and took a step forward. He chased in the direction where the demonic light of the great path disappeared and disappeared in the void sky in an instant. Soon, the old turtle's divine island rushed into the immortal essence of 5 elements and floated in the air above it. The old turtle needed to adjust himself to the best condition before he could undergo the divine tribulation. This required some time. Therefore, Gu Fei left the divine island and headed for his territory in the desolate world. His territory was also a place of immortal essence. This place of immortal essence was a natural place of immortal path that nurtured the 3 spirits of the celestial path. However, when Gu Fei came to the outside of this natural place of immortal path, he could not help but stop because he sensed an extremely powerful aura coming from the depths of this place of immortal essence. This is... Gu Fei's expression changed. He never expected that someone would take advantage of his place while he was away. This made him furious. Leave quickly. If you take another step forward, I'll make sure you die without a burial ground. Chapter 30-34. A spiritual ground that could nurture a primordial immortal being was definitely extraordinary, especially in the depths of this spiritual ground where the power of the great Tao was condensed. Cultivating in a place like this would definitely yield twice the result with half the effort. Gu Fei's spiritual ground was not inferior to the old tortoise's spiritual ground of the 5 elements. But now, when Gu Fei returned to this spiritual ground, he found that his territory was occupied by someone else. How dare you take over my territory? Outside the spirit land, Gu Fei was infuriated. Just which idiot had done such a thing? How dare he do such a thing? You, hurry up and leave. If my master is alarmed, your body and soul will be destroyed. A being walked out of the mist. A powerful silhouette was faintly discernible in the mist, emitting an extremely powerful aura. Gu Fei's cultivation had truly returned to its original state. As long as he didn't reveal his cultivation and battle prowess, no one would be able to see through his true strength. Who is your master? Hurry up and tell him to come out and see me. Gu Fei's expression darkened. He stared at the being in the mist and spoke with an extremely cold tone. Although the mist was in the way, he could still see through it with a single glance. This arrogant being was a divine crocodile covered in purplish-green scales. Strangely enough, this divine crocodile was emitting a powerful immortal aura. A ferocious beast that cultivates the Tao, Gu Fei muttered to himself. What did you say? At this moment, the divine crocodile in the immortal mist heard Gu Fei's words. Its eyes immediately revealed an incomparably ferocious gaze, and a ferocious aura immediately erupted from the divine crocodile. A beast is still a beast in the end. Even if it cultivates, it's still a beast. Its ferocious nature cannot be changed. Gu Fei shook his head. Who are you calling a beast? The divine crocodile was enraged. I called you a beast. Didn't you hear me? Gu Fei said to the enraged divine crocodile. You're courting death. The divine crocodile roared, and a beam of divine light emerged from between its eyebrows. It was as if a divine eye had opened, and a beam of terrifying destructive light shot out from between its eyebrows, piercing towards Gu Fei. The space of the deserted world was extremely stable, but wherever the destructive light passed, transparent ripples spread out. Humph! Gu Fei sneered. He didn't move at all. When the light of destruction reached a meter in front of him, it exploded with a bang, as if it had hit an invisible wall. What? The godly crocodile was taken aback. The other party did not seem to be as weak as he looked. A puny human was actually able to block its attack. To the divine crocodile, the human race was synonymous with weakness in the deserted world. Of course, the situation of the human race had taken a turn for the better, but the divine crocodile's perception had not changed. The weakness of the human race was deeply ingrained in the divine crocodile's mind, and it was difficult to change. Many of the human tribes that had gathered in the place of fairy spirits had been driven away. The human race was not qualified to enter the place of fairy spirits. Gu Fei did not expect that the human race here would suffer a catastrophe again. Most of the human tribes that had moved into the spiritual land had been destroyed, becoming food for the divine crocodile and the other powerful creatures. I don't care who your master is. How dare you kill the people I want to protect? Go to hell, all of you. As he spoke, Gu Fei reached out his hand and grabbed at the divine crocodile in the holy mist. A heaven-devouring power rushed out of his hand. The divine crocodile felt its body tighten, and then it flew towards the human uncontrollably. The divine crocodile was extremely shocked. It struggled with all its might, and powerful waves of energy exploded from its body, trying to break free. However, it was all in vain. The divine crocodile's huge body quickly shrank, and Gu Fei caught it in his hand. At that moment, the godly crocodile realized that it had provoked an unimaginably powerful being. Its intestines were green with regret. It shouldn't have been so arrogant at the beginning. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. My lord, please spare me. My master is the sky-devouring dominator. The divine crocodile in Gu Fei's hand begged for mercy, but it did not forget to say the name of its master. Ha ha! Gu Fei laughed. You still want to use your master's name to pressure me? Sky-devouring dominator, is that the legendary sky-devouring beast? So this guy knew about its master. It seemed like this guy wouldn't dare to kill it. The divine crocodile heard Gu Fei's mutterings and felt that it had a chance to live. However, what Gu Fei said next scared it silly. I haven't eaten a sky-devouring beast yet. I can kill it and make a pot of nourishing soup. Gu Fei licked his lips and said. The sky-devouring beast was said to be able to devour the heavens. This was not a legend, nor was it an exaggeration. An adult sky-devouring beast could indeed devour a world in a single bite. Of course, it was impossible for a sky-devouring beast to devour a truly perfect world in a single bite. Just as Gu Fei was about to grab the divine crocodile to death, a figure appeared silently behind him. Then, an earth-shattering roar rang out from behind him. A terrifying sound wave swept towards Gu Fei, and the air around him rippled like water. All the flora and fauna around him, and even a nearby mountain, were pulverized by the roar and vanished into thin air. This was an extremely terrifying sound assassination technique. The might of that powerful existence's roar shook the entire world. The entire ground in front of Gu Fei seemed to have been shoveled away, and the ground was filled with dust that was shattered by the sound wave. However, the terrifying sound assassination technique was unable to cause any harm to Gu Fei. On the other hand, the divine crocodile in Gu Fei's hand started to crack under the impact of the sound assassination technique. Gu Fei's clothes and hair fluttered in the wind. He looked completely at ease. "You're a paragon." At this moment, a terrified voice came from behind Gu Fei. The figure seemed to have turned into a supreme being of the immortal Tao, as if it had fused with the connate great Tao of this spiritual land. "So there's something you want here." When Gu Fei saw this, he finally understood why this heaven-devouring beast would want to occupy a piece of land that had an owner. This heaven-devouring beast wanted to snatch away the fortune of this spiritual land. Moreover, this guy seemed to be on the verge of success. Heaven-devouring beast! The figure bathed in boundless celestial light suddenly surged with an extremely strong devouring power. The space was collapsing, and the devouring power immediately enveloped Gu Fei. Gu Fei felt his body tighten, and his entire body flew towards the depths of the spiritual land involuntarily. He did not resist the devouring power. However, when he quickly approached the figure, his body shook, and the devouring power on his body was immediately dispersed. The entire world shook violently. Boom! The sky seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. With Gu Fei at the center, pitch-black spatial cracks spread, like black lightning bolts, and disappeared into the void in an instant. One had to admit that the space of the deserted world was extremely stable. The moment the space broke, it was immediately repaired by the power of the world. Just like real lightning, it only appeared for a moment. What? Seeing this, the huge beast was shocked. It stared at Gu Fei with its starry eyes, then opened its mouth and inhaled. An even stronger devouring power surged out of the huge beast's mouth. Roar! Gu Fei let out a long roar, and a terrifying killing power of sound erupted, clashing with the devouring power and dispersing the devouring power. The boundless power of the celestial way was dispersed by the killing power of sound. The huge figure also dissipated in the void, and the real heaven-devouring beast appeared high up in the sky. It was a ferocious beast shrouded in the divine light of the celestial way. Even with Gu Fei's cultivation, he could only see a blurry silhouette of the beast. "Ruler of the human race," the heaven-devouring beast said. Gu Fei's azure dragon roar did not have much of an impact on it. "This is my territory. Who the hell do you think you are? How dare you take over my territory?" Looking at the beast before him, Gu Fei's face was cold beyond anything else. "Your territory? You're that Gu Fei?" The heaven-devouring beast glared at Gu Fei and remarked coldly. How could it have known from the guards of this spirit land that the owner of this place was a human by the name of Gu Fei? However, this beast could not be bothered with all that. Immediately it devoured all the powerful living beings that were guarding this spirit land, as well as quite a number of humans. All the people in the largest few human tribes that had moved into the spiritual land were swallowed by this ferocious beast in one gulp. For this beast, the human race was nothing more than some decent food. "I've never eaten a heaven-devouring beast before. I'll slaughter you and boil you into a pot of nourishing soup to nourish myself." Gu Fei licked his lips as he looked at the ferocious beast. "What did you say?" The moment the heaven-devouring beast heard this, it could not believe its ears. To think that this fellow would want to eat it up. Had he gone mad? "Your daddy here is a heaven-devouring beast. I've always been the one eating others. No one can eat me. There's no point in talking anymore. Kill!" Gu Fei did not want to waste his breath on this fella any longer. Waving his right hand, a bedazzling sword light burst forth from his hand and slashed out at the heaven-devouring beast. That extremely sharp sword light tore through the void and arrived above the head of the heaven-devouring beast in the blink of an eye. Sure. The next moment, the beast disappeared from the void and snatched that sword light from Gu Fei. By the time it appeared once more, it was already right before Gu Fei's face. Using its sharp claws, it swiped out at Gu Fei's head. Chapter 30-36. The heaven-devouring beast was definitely a ferocious beast that could cause even the heavens and earth to tremble in its presence. This sort of ferocious beast could be said to be renowned throughout the ancient era of the heavenly world and the mortal world. During the dark era of the late primordial era, the figure of a heaven-devouring beast had once appeared. There were even people who witnessed the heaven-devouring beast devouring an entire starry sky. Of course, the heaven-devouring beast that was fighting against Gu Fei wasn't that strong to be able to devour an entire starry sky. However, that heaven-devouring beast was still a quasi-utmost being. In the heavenly world and the mortal world, the heaven-devouring beast had already gone extinct. But Gu Fei had not expected to encounter a legendary heaven-devouring beast here. One had to know that the heaven-devouring beast was one of the 10 great ancient beasts. At this moment, Gu Fei grabbed hold of one of the sharp claws of the heaven-devouring beast and swung the beast around fiercely before smashing it down onto the ground. Boom! The heaven-devouring beast descended from the sky like a meteor, smashing down into the depths of the ground. Instantly, the surface of the ground rippled like waves. What heaven-devouring ruler! Just SOSO. Gu Fei stood high up in the sky and looked down at the ground that was filled with dust. A tremendous might spread out from his body, causing the void around him to tremble. Roar! From the depths of the ground, a furious roar rang out, causing the entire ground to tremble as a supreme power spread out. If not for the fact that this spiritual ground was protected by the power of seals, it would have long been destroyed. Swoosh! A figure bolted up into the sky from the ground and pounced out at Gu Fei. Above that figure, a terrifying devouring power burst forth, as though it had turned into a horrifying black hole that wanted to devour Gu Fei whole. Ha ha! How can your daddy be devoured by you? Gu Fei roared out in laughter as he punched out at that figure. A berserk power burst forth from his fist. This was the power of a quasi-utmost being, causing the void to collapse with a single punch. The devouring power emanating from the heaven-devouring beast could not affect Gu Fei at all. Gu Fei was like the reincarnation of a peerless god of war. His fist tore through the void, and a chaotic fist broke through the layers of devouring power that were emanating from the body of the heaven-devouring beast. His fist landed on the heaven-devouring beast's body. What? The heaven-devouring beast was extremely shocked. When the other party's fist landed on its body, it felt as though it had been struck by a chaos-divine mountain. It was sent flying and the sound of bones breaking could be heard from its body. How is this possible? The heaven-devouring beast was in disbelief. To think that this human sovereign was this strong. How could this be? This ferocious beast was a creature from the deserted world, not a prospective supreme being from the heaven realm, or the human realm. To this ferocious beast, the human race was synonymous with weakness. Of course, the heaven-swallowing beast had also heard that powerful humans from other realms had crossed over to conquer many of the Paragon's territories. Some of the Paragons had even been slain by the humans. However, the heaven-devouring beast did not care about any of this. The Paragons that had been slain by the humans had all been weak, and it was definitely stronger than those Paragons. This was the confidence of the heaven-devouring beast. Of course, it definitely had the right to be so confident. But now, the heaven-devouring beast realized that the humans really were strong. They were so strong that it was hard to imagine that they could actually injure it with a single punch. Damn it! The heaven-devouring beast was sent flying tens of thousands of zhang away by Gu Fei's punch before it managed to stabilize itself. Its body shone with the divine light of the immortal Tao, and the broken bones in its body rapidly reconnected and regenerated. Soon, the heaven-devouring beast's injured body was completely healed. At this level of cultivation, the physical body was almost indestructible. No matter how heavy the injury was, the body could be healed in an instant and be completely healed. The lofty heaven-devouring beast had finally met its match today. The heaven-devouring beast grinned savagely, and the terrifying fluctuations of a quasi-supreme emanated from its body. Rays of divine light transformed into divine chains that danced around its body, emitting sonorous clangs. Immortal runes flickered faintly on the divine chains. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The stable space around the heaven-devouring beast trembled. The energy fluctuations that erupted from its body were too powerful, far beyond that of an ordinary quasi-supreme. Now this is interesting. If you couldn't even take a single punch from me, it would be too boring. Seeing that the heaven-devouring beast was going all out, Gu Fei finally got serious. A shocking fighting spirit emanated from his body, and the runes of the Tao of primal chaos appeared on his body. I'm going to devour you! The heaven-devouring beast roared, and terrifying devouring power once again emanated from its body. It was like a powerful black hole that devoured everything around it. The void around its body was crumbling and being destroyed, turning into the most primordial essence energy that was devoured by the heaven-devouring beast. The heaven-devouring beast was no ordinary ferocious beast. It was a ferocious beast that could devour the heavens. It could devour everything, and this beast had devoured countless lives. However, no matter how strong the devouring power of the heaven-devouring beast was, Gu Fei remained unmoved like a mountain this time. No matter how the heaven-devouring beast used the heaven-gorging mysterious art, it couldn't move Gu Fei at all. Clang! The divine chains around the heaven-devouring beast shot towards Gu Fei. Every single one of the divine chains contained the power of a quasi-supreme. The 9 divine chains pierced through the void and wrapped around Gu Fei instantly. Gu Fei didn't resist, allowing the divine chains to wrap around him. The 9 divine chains exerted force at the same time, straightening out in an attempt to pull Gu Fei over. However, a scene that left the heaven-devouring beast in disbelief appeared. The 9 divine chains couldn't move Gu Fei at all. In fact, the divine chains even emitted terrifying flames of the immortal Tao, yet they still couldn't hurt Gu Fei at all. Gu Fei's body shuddered, and the 9 divine chains that wrapped around him broke apart instantly. They then turned into immortal light and dissipated into the void. Gu Fei then stretched out his right hand and pressed forward. A gigantic hand of chaos immediately appeared in the void and slammed towards the heaven-devouring beast. The gigantic hand of chaos destroyed everything and imprinted itself on the heaven-devouring beast's body. This time around, the heaven-devouring beast was torn apart by the gigantic hand of chaos, its physical body disintegrating in the void. However, the heaven-devouring beast quickly reassembled its physical body. Such an attack couldn't do anything to it at all, and it couldn't hurt its vitality at all. However, a beam of chaotic divine light suddenly shot out from Gu Fei's glabella. That beam of chaotic divine light instantly turned into an extremely sharp chaotic sword light that slashed towards the heaven-devouring beast.